This is the April 1st, 2026 Seminole County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. This board is a 7-member board appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. A quorum has been established to hold tonight's meeting. Public hearing items acted upon by this board are referred to the Board of County Commissioners for further consideration. Board members present tonight are myself, Chairman Carissa Lawhon, Vice Chairman Brandy Iapolo, Commissioner Dan Lopez, Commissioner Lourdes Aguirre, Commissioner Richard German, and Commissioner Mike Lorenz. Staff present tonight are Dagmarie Segarra, Deputy Development Services Director, Nasa Borkert, Deputy County Attorney, Jim Potter, Development Review Engineering Manager, Joy Giles, Planning and Development Manager, Maya Athanas, Principal Planner, Annie Siloway, Principal Planner, Caitlin Apgar, Senior Planner, Hillary Payton, Planner, Tammy Brushwood, P&Z Board Clerk, and Alexis Pelletier, Assistant Clerk. Tonight's meeting will go as follows. Staff will introduce each item. The applicant will then present their item. Audience members wishing to speak will then be heard. Audience participation requires that each speaker complete a comment card and give it to the clerk. Comment cards are located out in the lobby. Please check the box if you'd like to make oral comments. Written comments are also welcome. Speakers should restrict their comments to information directly related to the item being heard. When called, speakers should approach the microphone and clearly state their name and address for the record. The board may ask questions of the speaker. After all speakers have been heard, public comment will be closed. The applicant will be given a chance for rebuttal. Any items shown, such as videos, presentations, pictures, or maps, must be left with the clerk for the public record. Items shown from electronic devices should be emailed to the clerk. A motion will be made and then seconded. Board discussion may occur and conclude with a vote. I will request a roll call vote for any split votes. Now we'll start with our agenda items. We'll start initially with the acceptance and approval of the proof of publication. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the proof of publication is approved. Next, we'll move on to the minutes from our March 4th, 2026 P&Z meeting. Does the board have any changes, or do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we'll move to our public hearing items and begin with item number 1, which was continued from the last meeting. Sandy Lane Homes rezone, Caitlin Apgar presenting.
Good evening, Caitlin Apgar, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting the approval for a rezone from A1 Agriculture and R1 AA Single-Family Dwelling to MM Missing Middle for a proposed single-family residential development of 24 lots on approximately 7.54 acres located on the west side of Sandy Lane, south of Sand Lake Road. The property currently has a zoning designation of A1 Agriculture and R1 AA Single Family Dwelling District. The subject property has a future land use of low-density residential. The future land use supports the proposed Missing Middle zoning district. The low-density future land use allows for a maximum density of 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre. The applicant is proposing an overall density of 3.88 dwelling units per net buildable acre. The property is currently developed as a single-family home. The applicant proposes to develop the site as a single-family residential subdivision having a maximum of 24 single-family lots. The applicant is proposing a minimum lot width of 57 feet and a minimum lot size of 6,500 square feet. The site is located in Seminole County's sewer utility service area and Sunshine Water's water utility service area. The site will be required to connect to public utilities. An agreement for billing of sewer will be required between the county and Sunshine Water Services during the final engineering plan review and prior to approval of the utility agreement for sewer service. The development will have a primary access onto Sandy Lane, which is classified as a local road. A secondary right-in, right-out only access is proposed onto Sand Lake Road, which is classified as an urban major collector. Sand Lake Road is currently operating at a level of service C to F, depending on the direction of travel and time of day. Additional improvements to Sand Lake Road may be required during the subdivision process. There is an existing sidewalk along the adjacent portions of Sand Lake Road and Sandy Lane. Therefore, the developer will be required to connect to the sidewalk along both property frontages. The missing middle zoning district requires a minimum of 8% net buildable acreage to be provided as open space. Landscape buffers are not required based on the intensity of the development. Open space and buffer criteria will be evaluated further during the final engineering stage. Seminole County Public Schools provided a school impact analysis for the proposed project. The analysis concluded that the students generated by the project would be able to be accommodated without exceeding the adopted level of service at this time. Potential constraints and obstacles of the development, such as grading, site elevation, and level of service of Sand Lake Road, may present challenges. However, in staff's analysis, these considerations do not preclude the site's compatibility with the overall intent of the missing middle zoning district. The development plan is subject to change and further review of required criteria during the subdivision process. The development will be required to meet standards per the Land Development Code, as outlined in the following slides. As a summary, the applicant is providing one typology in a residential tract no bigger than 5 acres. The project is not gated. The provided conceptual development plan proposes a minimum of 8% of net buildable acres as open space and will provide pedestrian connectivity to open spaces and existing sidewalks. The internal right-of-way is designed to establish connectivity from Sand Lake Road to Sandy Lane. The overall design of the development is consistent with the intent of promoting connectivity and accessibility to adjacent streets and roadways. While stub-outs were not provided to the 2 vacant lots to the northeast, access to those parcels are not inhibited by this development. One vacant lot retains frontage on Sand Lake Road, while the other retains frontage on both Sand Lake and Sandy Lane. The overall development still meets the intent of the missing middle zoning district via the implementation of the block design through connectivity to Sand Lake Road and Sandy Lane. The applicant is aware of the 2-story limitation and is only proposing one typology in this development. Additional site and building requirements will be evaluated during the final engineering stage. For reference, I've included the specific criteria from the code on the slides above. The applicant has demonstrated compliance with the open space requirements and has made a note on the conceptual plan that references the provision of street trees. Specific site details will be evaluated during final engineering, inclusive of minimum parking requirements and building frontage. Consistency with the comprehensive plan is achieved through the comprehensive plan policies projected on the slides above. The proposed MM zoning is consistent with policy FLU 4.2.1 by reducing lot sizes to allow for more compact site plans while adhering to the overall density in the area, adhering to street tree requirements, and providing for a complementary missing middle typology with the existing neighborhoods. The request meets the trend of single-family dwelling unit development in the surrounding neighborhoods while maximizing usable density within the allowable limit. The subject site is approximately 1,900 feet as the crow flies from the nearest boundary of the urban centers and corridor overlay. The proposed rezone supports encouraging a wider range of housing choices in and around the centers and corridor overlay, which meets the intent of policy FLU 4.2.1A. The proposed MM zoning classification acts as a transition in zoning for the surrounding trend of development in the area by staying consistent with both the permitted uses and density provisions of the low-density residential future land use. This also allows for more dwelling units to be achieved through flexible site standards. The proposed development is located within the aquifer recharge overlay, and a note has been made on the development plan stating compliance with the maximum impervious surface ratio of 60% in compliance with FLU Policy 2.3.12B. Staff finds the proposed missing middle zoning classification to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. In compliance with Seminole County Land Development Code Section 30.49, Community Meeting Procedure, the applicant conducted a community meeting on September 23rd, 2025. Details of the community meeting have been provided in the agenda package. Staff requests the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture and R1 AA single-family dwelling to MM missing middle as per the following motion. Based on staff's findings and the testimony and evidence received at the hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission finds the request consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets applicable portion of the Land Development Code, and recommends the Boards of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture and R1 AA single-family dwelling to MM missing middle on approximately 7.54 acres located on the west side of Sandy Lane, south of Sand Lake Road. That concludes my presentation. I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Questions of staff?
I do. I just want to see if I'm being misled here, okay? You state in your staff report that it's for a residential development of 24 lots.
Yes, sir.
And you further state down there that it's 3.88 dwelling units per acre. But it's in LDR, so it's allowed to go 4, which would be 30 units. Now, what we're approving is just the rezoning. We're not approving that site plan that's in part of this package. So we're really not getting 20. We could get the full 30 units if he chooses to come back, because we're not approving this site plan. Is that not true?
So we calculate our density based on net buildable acreage. There is a
Okay.
transmission line easement running through the property, which is not included in net buildable acreage. That's why he couldn't achieve the 30 dwelling units.
Okay, that was a good, thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions of staff? I do. Caitlin, why would, if all that is going to be built here are single-family homes, why would one of the other residential zoning categories not have been appropriate?
The missing middle, so it may be better for the applicant to answer why they chose the zoning district that they did. I will say that the missing middle zoning district doesn't have specific lot size or width dimensions when choosing the single-family lot typology.
Missing middle is a relatively newer designation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And it also allows maybe some flexibility in the future with regard to the type of housing that can be built within it, whereas maybe another residential zoning category wouldn't. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, is the applicant present?
Good evening, Chair, fellow commissioners. Brent Spain, Theriac and Spain, 1809 Edgewater Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32804, on behalf of the applicant, Jordan Holmes. And we obviously support the staff's recommendation of approval that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the county's land use plan. As some of you may know, I've come to hearings out here many, many times, and I complimented Ms. Apgar prior to the hearing on the thoroughness of her staff report. Typically, when you're in my position as a land use attorney, whether you're for or against a project, you review the staff report, and inevitably, my job is to go through the Land Development Code and the comp plan and look for policies or provisions that may have been missed. And frankly, this is the first time in a long time that I can remember where I did not see a single thing that was in my notes that actually was not in Ms. Apgar's staff report. So I applaud that, and you all as a planning board should be proud of the level of detail staff is doing. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Madam Chair, request an opportunity for rebuttal after public comment. I know there's a fair number of people here this evening to speak on this project.
I have a question. Sure. Brett, do you concur that what staff made the statement that you're limited to 3.88 dwelling units per acre and you can only get 24 units on this site? Do you concur with that?
Yeah, I do, Mr. Chairman. In fact, when I was initially hired on this project, probably over a year ago, that was one of the issues that was evaluated with the staff, and whether it was 30 units, 27, or it had to be 24, and the end result was it had to be 24. And that's what the development plan is that has been submitted. It reflects 24 single-family detached lots.
I have a question. Is the intent to rent or to sell these properties, these houses, the 24 houses?
Yeah, the intent's to sell them. That was indicated at the community meeting. In fact, there was from the minutes of the community meeting, you'll see that the developer, my client, had indicated what they thought the estimated price point would be for these houses during that community meeting. But yes, they're single-family detached, fee simple ownership.
Mr. Spain, can you address the question that I asked of staff, why a different residential zoning category wasn't chosen for this?
Yeah, I would say, well, as a land use attorney of 25-plus years, I'll provide this response, is that staff indicated, the future land use is LDR, so a maximum of 4 dwelling units per acre. And my assumption when the application went in is that the other zoning districts will not allow you to even remotely get closer to that 4 dwelling units per acre. As was just confirmed with Commissioner German, even Missing Middle can't get to 4 dwelling units per acre and meet the code requirements. So given its location at an intersection, and the staff report touched upon it, and from a planning perspective, you want to step down and transition your uses. So on one side, you have 75-foot lots. On the south side, you have over 100-foot lots. And then you have this, where if you actually look at the plan, I know Ms. Apgar indicated a minimum of 57-foot wide lots, but actually all but 5 lots on the development plan are 60-foot wide lots. And I can tell you in my experience, placing a 60-foot wide lot next to a 75-foot lot, next to an 80 or 100-foot lot, does not present any compatibility issues from a land use perspective. In fact, it's a good transition down to the intersection of Sand Lake and Sandy Lane.
Are there other questions of the applicant?
I have one more. Brett, in reading through the public comments, obviously lot size was a big deal. Everybody wants 75s, 90s, whatever it may be. You could still change the lot size here downward, even though you may be held to a density. We're not approving this. That's what I always hate about these zoning. We're not approving this master plan or this site plan, so you could do a lot of things with it. Will you stipulate to that, to the 60-foot and the 57-foot lots designed on here, that
Yeah.
you won't be less than that?
Yeah, I'm authorized to stipulate with respect to the site data that's on that development plan, one of which is that the lots are 60 feet wide, except for the 5 lots that are slightly over 57 feet wide.
Okay, and so that won't change.
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
And would you stipulate to that it would only be single-family homes requested here in the future, and and the typography of the housing wouldn't change?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Missing Middle, even the chart and the uses, some of the concerns that came up at the community meeting, those would not be allowed in the low-density residential future land use category with Missing Middle zoning. I know when you look at Missing Middle, you think there can be townhomes and this and that, and once you go to the actual use chart in Missing Middle, for example, townhomes and the like have limitations on them, but our submittal is for 24 single-family detached homes, so we would stipulate to that.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to public comment.
Thank you.
I do have some comment cards here. I'm also passing around comments from those who have indicated they don't wish to speak. tonight. Nick Moscato, please come up and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Nick Moscato, live at 360 Forest Park Circle, which is right across the proposed subdivision there. We've lived in Forest Park Estates for over 35 years now, and I'm here to respectfully say to vote no on the proposed missing middle zoning change. If this is approved, it opens the door for the developer to build multiple things, duplexes, triplexes, cottage-style cluster. I mean, we heard what he just said, but it doesn't preclude us to knowing that he's going to build 6 single-family homes. They could sell it, and if they get the missing middle tag, then it's open for anything. While it may sound like increased flexibility, it comes with real consequences for the surrounding neighborhoods. The biggest concern is property values. Many homeowners in this area have made long-term investments based on the current character and density of the neighborhood. And introducing higher density housing in the form of multiple units on single lots can change the character significantly. In many cases, this type of development can lead to downward pressure on nearby home values, especially when it creates overcrowding, increased parking demand, and a mismatch in neighborhood design. And as you know, that road is in question. It's a 2-lane roadway that is already operating at near capacity during peak hours. We have 4 schools, two churches on Sand Lake Road, and adding higher density housing will significantly increase the number of vehicles using this road every day. Now, this isn't just a minor uptick. This is a substantial change that will lead to congestion, longer commute times, and increased frustration for the residents. More importantly, this is a public safety issue. The road was not designed to handle the volume or complexity of traffic that this zoning change would bring. There are limited safeguards for pedestrians and cyclists, and increased traffic will only make conditions more dangerous. Families, children, and individuals who walk or bike in this area will be put at greater risk. Emergency response times could also be impacted and congestion worsens. I'm just saying we should not move forward with development that outpaces the capacity of the infrastructure. I urge the board to take a step back, fully evaluate the traffic and safety implications, and prioritize the well-being of current and future residents. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Ashley Diaz.
Chairman Lahan,
Yes.
if you'd like, if we have a number of public comment, you can call a couple in advance and they
Yeah.
can come over and wait if you have that option.
Yes, we can go ahead and queue up a little bit. Next will be Steve Litt.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Diaz. I live in Volusia County, so that's 740 Saxon Boulevard in Deltona, Florida. I am a parent who drives from Volusia County to Seminole County every single day so my son can attend Pace Brantley Preparatory School. The commute is intentional because we chose this school because it provides something truly important for our child, and we are willing to go out of our way for it. But that also means I experience the traffic conditions on Sand Lake Road and Sandy Lane multiple times a day. This is not an underused roadway. It already serves multiple schools, multiple neighborhoods, school buses, and families during the most sensitive times of the day, including arrival and dismissal. During those hours, traffic is not just heavy, it is complex and it's unpredictable, with children walking, crossing, and cars constantly entering and exiting. Adding 24, give or take homes, new homes, at that exact corner will introduce more vehicles, more congestion, and just more risk, right where our children are most vulnerable. This is not simply a question of growth, it is a question of safety and responsible planning. I am respectfully asking the board to require a comprehensive traffic impact study that specifically evaluates school hour conditions, not just general traffic flow. I also ask that any consideration of this project include concrete safety measures, such as traffic control, pedestrian projections, and infrastructure improvements before any development begins. We all understand that growth is inevitable, but where and how it happens matters, especially when it directly affects the children. Thank you.
Thank you. After Mr. Litz comes, we will have Pam Tapley.
I'm Steve Litt, 385 Forest Park Circle, Longwood, right across Sand Lake from the property in question. Madam Chairman, zoning commissioners, and neighbors, 5 points in 3 minutes. Point 1, Section 7 of the Developers Sandy Lake Homes Rezoning Committee meetings minutes says no binding commitments were made regarding final density or site layout, final architectures, making any assurances he gives us meaningless. It's what's on paper that counts. Same with stipulations unless they're on paper now and forever. Point 2, meeting concluded without consensus. That's just not true. About 100 of us were against it, and 2, the homeowner and the builder, were for it. At least I didn't hear anybody speak for it except those 2. Point 3, Section 8 said the sign-up sheet was provided and circulated but was taken and not returned to the applicant. But if that's true, it's a lucky break for the developer because I and many other people wrote no or opposed next to our names. And if it wasn't turned in, what does the list of people following Section 8 represent? Point 4, today's average Seminole County household has more than 2 cars, so even if the builder sticks to 24 single dwellings, and he said that nothing is concrete, that's 48 more cars to further clog up Sand Lake and use Forest Park Estates as overflow parking. Missing middle can, under certain circumstances, allow up to 5 plexes, potentially boosting that number to 240. I know it won't get there, but as the chairman said, you know, things could change afterward. 5, I ask my letter of opposition regarding impact on our neighborhood's children be read aloud at this meeting. Please reject the missing middle zoning for this property now and in the future. Thank you for listening to our viewpoint.
After Mrs. Tapley, we'll have Donnie Anderson.
Good evening. Pam Tapley. I'm the head of school at Pace Brantley Preparatory School, 3221 Sand Lake Road, Longwood, Florida, 32779. I'm here on behalf of the Pace Brantley Preparatory School as a concerned member of the Sand Lake Corridor community to formally express our objection to the proposed rezoning of the property located at Sandy Lane and Sand Lake Road to the missing middle designation. While we understand and respect the need for thoughtful residential development in our growing community, we believe this particular rezoning request raises serious concerns that warrant careful considerations before any approval is granted. Neighborhood and character precedent. Many residents in the surrounding area are deeply concerned that approving this rezoning would permanently alter their established character of neighborhood. Perhaps more significantly, approval of this request could set a precedent that invites nearby property owners to propose similar rezoning along the same corridor. Based on properties currently listed for sale between Sandy Lane and Hunt Club Boulevard, conservative projections suggest that a ripple effect of similar rezoning also relies solely on Sand Lake Road for access. Should currently vacant or agriculturally zoned properties in the area follow suit, the number could climb as high as 90 new dwellings. There's concern regarding this becomes so urgent. Sand Lake Road currently serves as a primary access for schools. Traffic congestion during the school arrival and dismissal hours is already well-documented challenges for families, as you heard, staff, emergency vehicles, and alike. The addition of dozens, potentially nearly 100 new resident units, each generating daily vehicle travels, would place an unacceptable burden in infrastructure that is simply not designed to absorb that volume. Beyond congestion, we must speak plainly about our safety. Our students travel Sand Lake Road daily on foot, by bicycle, and those motorized bikes. In the past year alone, 2 of our students were struck by vehicles pulling out of side streets on this road. 2 students. That's not a statistic. Those are our children who were injured in our community. We cannot in good conscience remain silent about the real and present danger that a significant increase in traffic would pose to our young children who walk and ride along this road every day. We request and urge the Planning and Zoning Department to deny the current rezoning request or to defer approval pending a comprehensive traffic impact study of Sand Lake Road corridor. We also encourage you to engage school administration and neighborhood residents in future discussions regarding development along this corridor and consider the cumulative impact of potential follow-on rezoning requests, not just by the immediate applications before you. We are committed to working collaboratively with the city and neighboring stakeholders on solutions, and we do support responsible growth while protecting the safety of our students and our community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tapley. Following Mr. Anderson, we'll have Michael Heidman.
Chairman,
Yes.
may I just make a quick clarification, maybe for the benefit of the public? So this applicant is not asking for a comprehensive plan amendment. Whatever they do on the property, they're limited to 4 dwelling units per acre. The type of development doesn't matter. What the limit is 4 dwelling units per acre. They will not be able to go above that. So the maximum here, and that's not including the site constraints with the power line easements, which you can't build houses under power line easements, obviously, is the 24 units based on site constraints. So I just want to point that out. They're not asking for a comp plan amendment. Whatever they put there could not go above 30 units an acre because that's what the comp plan limits them to, 4 dwelling units an acre. I just want to make sure that, everyone's clear on that.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
One moment while I set up for my presentation, please. If it may be allowed, I have some booklets that I've made that
Please provide
follow
them.
along with what I got. It has
Provide
all
them
the
to the clerk.
information, all my research. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Chairman, board members, and staff. My name is Donnie Anderson. I live in Forest Park Estates across the street from Sandy Lane and serve on the Forest Park Estates Community Board. Thank you for your time tonight. I'd like to briefly show you something before I begin. Sorry. Technology. What you're seeing here is school traffic congestion at Forest Lake Education Center on Sand Lake Road. This footage was taken about 3:27 on March 12, 2026. This is not theoretical, it's not projected, these are the current conditions. This happens twice a day, 5 days a week. This type of traffic congestion repeats itself twice a day at every one of the 4 schools that are located within the Sand Lake corridor. Both proposed developments, the proposed Sandy Lake development and the other project nearby, will funnel its traffic directly into the same corridor. What many residents and possibly the board may not be aware of is another proposed development directly across the street from the proposed Sandy Lake development main entrance and exit to Sand Lake Road. Play the next one here for me. Right there. Fire Creek at Lake Brantley, 9.65 acres, 32 homes, 70-foot wide lots, all using existing zoning rules. This parcel is landlocked, so the only way in and the only way out from the subdivision is from Sand Lake Road. This will certainly increase traffic with this, in this constrained corridor. Now let's just look at the bigger picture. Okay, go ahead and do that. That's the site right there where they're saying they're going to build, and this here. Here we have Fire Creek to the north, Sandy Lane to the south, both exiting directly on Sand Lake Road. Right next to Pace Brantley Preparatory School with heavy traffic, just as you've seen in the video at the beginning of the presentation. This is no longer a single development decision. This becomes a corridor level decision. And that's where Missing Middle becomes important. Let me explain. If Missing Middle zoning is approved in Sandy Lane, it does more than affect the 24 homes. It sets a precedent. Under Florida's Live Local Act and Missing Middle policies, density increases become easier. Administrative approvals become faster. Parking requirements can be reduced and public involvement can be limited. This means future developments, including nearby parcels like Fire Creek, could pursue higher density and less of a local review. And once the door is opened, it is very difficult to close. This is not just about Sandy Lake, it's about protecting the Sand Lake corridor. That preserving thoughtful, community-based planning decisions, approving Missing Middle tonight will unintentionally reduce both community involvement and this board's ability to carefully guide future truth. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that the board deny Missing Middle zoning. Thank you for your time and your service.
Okay. Following Mr. Heidman, we'll have Andrew Zito.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Michael Heidman. I reside at 405 Forest Park Circle, Longwood, Florida. The access for my community is directly across from Sandy Lane. I'd like to start with a quote this morning from the applicant that we all heard during the last Planning and Zoning meeting regarding the request to continue the meeting. Quote, "We've still got some things I'm working on to present to the county. I would rather be with all the items I've got to present on this project." The board then granted the continuance. The only items I've seen between the March 4th and April 1st packet are 90 letters of opposition. I now understand that those letters of opposition are over 120 letters of opposition received by the county. We heard the applicant's attorney a few minutes ago mention that this project serves as a great transition to surrounding neighborhoods. If approved, this would allow 60-foot lots landlocked with, to the north, you've got 100-foot lots that would be twice the size minimum of this project. To the south, you have minimum 100-foot lots that are 3 times larger than what this project proposes. And to the east, you have agriculture property with minimum lot size of 43,560 feet that's 6.5 times larger than what this project proposes. I don't understand how this project serves as a transition. I've also heard repeatedly that this project does not increase the density. While I understand that the land use is for 4 dwelling units per acre, in actuality, changing from R1AA to missing middle will in fact increase the density. Currently, at 90-foot lots, which is allowed on the property, you can fit approximately 16-foot lots on the 7.5 acres. This applicant has requested 24 lots. That's an increase in density of 50%. Does not meet the comprehensive land use. I'd also like to touch on the community meeting that was held in September. The applicant scheduled the meeting from 6 to 8, walked into the meeting at 6:16, had a visual representation that was a little bit larger than a sheet of paper, and spoke to about an hour and a half to 122 residents in the neighborhood. Promises were made. I've not seen any of those promises in any of the packets presented. The minutes do not meet the minimum criteria for the county. If you saw those minutes, you would see that the applicant promised a traffic study. Traffic was a major concern from the community, and the applicant promised a traffic study, which I have not seen. I ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Joy, Mr. Zito is representing an HOA and should get 6 minutes. After he speaks, we'll go to Lori Bartlett.
I wasn't ready for 6 minutes. I thought I had 3. I didn't realize I got extra time, but that's okay.
If you're officially representing an organization or an HOA, you can have up to 6 minutes.
Facts.
You don't
All
have
right.
to speak
No,
the
it's
whole
okay.
time.
Andrew Zito here on behalf of the Sandy Lane Homeowners Association. I live at 3287 Sunset Valley Court. The Sandy Lane Homeowners Association is directly to the south of the proposed development. We are 3 cul-de-sacs bordered on the south by a cemetery and some forest land. We do not have through traffic through our neighborhood, so we have one way in and one way out, and that is the much-discussed Sandy Lane. What we are proposing here is going to dramatically alter how our residents and how our homeowners get into and out of our neighborhood, and potentially the value of our homes. On those 3 cul-de-sacs, we have 23 single-family homes, quarter to half-acre lots, $1 million plus homes, 5 of which would share a contiguous border with the proposed development. I've tried to take a pragmatic approach to this entire process, and I think that for anybody who bought a home and invested $1 million plus into our neighborhood, we all did so with the understanding that at some point, houses would be built on this land, and I don't think we're taking an anti-development stance. I don't think, given the zoning that was in place when we purchased our homes, that we could have ever anticipated that we'd be talking about putting 24 homes onto this piece of land. To be clear, there would be potentially 8 or 9 homes that line up with our 5. So the argument that there's potentially a step down or a transition, I'm not sure is consistent. In addition, on Sandy Lane, I think I understood that the primary entrance and exit to this neighborhood would be on Sandy Lane. That would effectively be doubling the traffic that is currently on Sandy Lane, which is barely wide enough for the two vehicles to pass one another. And in addition, the border on the other side across Sandy Lane from this is the Pace Brantley School, where there are always children around. The density of what we're talking about here is really difficult to understand. I think I've had the opportunity to speak to the applicant. I have positive things to say about him. This is not a personal thing or an anti-development thing. It simply has to do with the density and the issues associated with the actual missing middle zoning designation. I've had the opportunity to learn more about Seminole County zoning laws than I ever wanted to or will ever again. I will shout out Caitlin, who is an absolute rock star and deserves a raise just for dealing with me. And, what I've come to understand throughout this process, boiling it down to the 3 final things for you. Number 1, the missing middle designation, I understand its purpose, I understand its intent, and I listened to everything. The simple fact and the major flaw in it is that it's not only the density issue associated with missing middle, but it's the type of unit that can be built there. My understanding is that while the applicant is proposing single-family dwellings, they would have the opportunity to build other types of development. Once the zoning takes place, there's no going back on that. The applicant doesn't own the property at this point in time, so lots of things can happen between when you vote tonight and when the shovel hits the dirt. If that piece of land gets into the hands or it becomes owned by another developer, they would then have the opportunity to build anything, townhouses, triplex, duplexes, all that sort of thing. So I think we need to think through that before we go any further. Density is also a problem. We're talking about building 24 homes in the same area that takes up about 2/3 of our neighborhood, which will be behind it and Sand Lake Road. So we're dramatically increasing the density. That's another consideration. I think one of the presenters discussed the tract of land that's across Sand Lake Road. It isn't just about this piece of land. It's about the entire corridor there on Sand Lake Road. So I'd ask that you take that into consideration as you open the door to Missing Middle, which I think, as I understand it, hasn't really been deployed yet in Seminole County in great numbers, and probably needs a little bit more study before we do so. I don't think that right next to a school and an already overpopulated road, which I'll get to in a second, is the place to experiment with this. The last bit for us is, of course, Sand Lake Road. You've heard it, and I'm sure you'll hear it more tonight. Sand Lake Road and the traffic, I'm glad the person showed the video. It's a nightmare. Between Sandy Lane and 434, which is our major ingress into I-4, it's about 2 miles. It can take you sometimes 13, 18 minutes to get there at the wrong time of day. I've personally almost been hit there. I've seen kids almost get hit there. This stretch of road is not tolerant for any more congestion or development in that area. I wish that it were, because I'm pro-growth, and I think we all are, but we are asking for a problem on Sand Lake Road. It is something that I think external to this conversation needs to be discussed, but definitely in context of this increase in the density in this area is going to lead to an accident on Sand Lake Road. For all of these reasons, about a month or two ago, the association at Sandy Lane, which I represent, voted to oppose the rezoning, and I'm here tonight on behalf of them to ask you to vote no and decline the zoning application. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Ms. Bartlett, we'll have Jeff Perlman.
My name is Lori Bartlett. I live at 816 Rio Alamano Drive, Altamont Springs. That is across on the other side of 434. I use Sand Lake often to ashamedly avoid the intersection of 434 and 436 because I cannot make a left turn easily out of my subdivision. I have, in fact, made a left turn once. My car was hit by an e-bike. I called the police, and I got a ticket, and no one was hurt. So that I understand Pace School being concerned about their safety of their students. You also need to be concerned about the safety of your cars. No one is against, as everybody, I think, generally has said, building houses. The consensus seems to be against building more houses than what the area is already zoned as. At the community meeting, yes, he came late, and to be quite honest, he seemed to have the attitude, and this is a seem to have, sooner or later somebody's going to build houses there, so you might as well pick me. He wants to build as many houses as he can to make money, and being a good capitalist, I agree with that. You want to make money. You're a builder. These are not standalone homes. I looked at the website. There are no pictures of standalone homes that I could find. They might be there hiding on some page. There were townhouses. There were things that I would describe as either condos or apartments. It would be nice to see what size and facts they have about these standalone homes. I would encourage you to think about these things and to deny the zoning variance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Perlman. I live at 3571 Terra Oaks Court, Longwood, Florida, Terra Oaks subdivision. Like the Forest Lake projects, I'm faced with having to get out of my subdivision at 8 in the morning, and it's exactly what you saw on that video. People having to drive through the yellow cross-hatched lines in the middle of the road to get around people going into the Forest Lake Academy. And this is a daily occurrence. It's twice a day. You have to have a schedule on your refrigerator to know when you can leave your house, because you can't make a left turn there to get out. And you don't know what time of day it's going to be, because Forest Lake Academy has different times on different days where they release students. So you can come in at noon and find the same traffic jam. By the way, I'm not here representing my community, but I was asked by a board member to come up because of the holiday tonight, he couldn't be here. So maybe I get a minute or two extra. Community meeting. Oh, I want to preface this all by saying 40 years in the land and residential development business in Orlando area, Florida. So I have some previous experience and knowledge in this area. And I've dealt with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, developers, lawyers, commissioners, everybody. Mr. Jordan showed up, as has been noted, 15 minutes late. He probably hoped that some of that crowd would have left by then. I think that's, to me, I was trained if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. And you're coming to a meeting that's important. I think that was intentional. He started out touting the wonderful high-end single-family homes he's built, kept referencing Winter Park, although it's not where you would picture. Because if I said I build homes in Winter Park, you're going to think, Park Avenue down there, $1 million homes. That's not it. He's got a townhouse project on Lake Killarney that's basically almost bordering I-4 on the west end of Lake Killarney. As to his projects that he talked about, and he kept telling us, look at my site for the single-family homes I build. There are 11 projects on that website. 10 of them are townhouses, condos, and apartments. One of them is a single-family project down in Kissimmee that's a $300,000 to $400,000 project. Sorry. So he came in telling us about his $800,000 to $1 million homes. My experience says that's ridiculous. And if it were that, missing middle is supposed to be an affordability concept. And $800,000 to $1 million, does that sound affordable to anybody here? I don't think so.
Please try to wrap it up, Mr. Perlman.
All right, I appreciate that. Here's what I've seen. He came in originally asking for over 50 units. That was the first submittal, which had to be multifamily. And then by the time we had this community meeting, it was 27. And then he said, I'm moving it down to 24. And I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm here, and I'm there. And all I could think of when I was back there is the concept of the smoke and mirrors, used to describe deception that creates confusion to what? Hide the truth.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perlman.
I believe that what the intention here is to get the zoning and then come back later and ask for one of the many uses that can be done under missing middle. I don't believe missing middle is like PD.
Thank you, Mr. Perlman.
I would appreciate another minute, since I am here on the request of the HOA.
I'm sorry. You have to be an official representative of the HOA. I think that we heard you, though, and we understand your
Well, I had
position.
some pretty good points. PD would be a way, and it would be a zoning that would allow him to do the units that he wants, but it would lock him in.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much.
And the other thing is, the 4 units the acre is not a maximum, because the comp plan allows up to 7 if you have an affordability component.
Thank you, Mr. Perlman.
I don't know.
Next, the only remaining speaking cards that I have actually don't, opposition cards that I have, actually don't indicate whether or not the person wants to speak. So I'll go through and ask Debbie Chrysler. Are you here? Would you like to speak or no? Thank you. Vatsal Patel. Thank you. Nikiben Patel. And I've got Pandora Bartham.
Please. I'm Pandora Bartham's husband.
Okay. Will you be speaking?
I'd like to.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't actually prepare for this, but I can summarize it. I concur with everyone up here. that's spoken.
Sir, will you just state your name over
Oh,
here?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just state your
I'm
name
Lee
for the record.
Woolridge. I live
Thank
at
you.
337 Forest Park Circle, Longwood, and that's right across from this briar patch we're talking about. Anyway, I concur with everyone that's spoken so far. It's traffic, infrastructure, all the other problems that we've talked about. I don't know that it's been fully put into perspective the financial impact it's going to have on the people living on either side, in which it's going to be divided by this potentially bait and switch situation where we could have anything there that would dramatically impact the value of our homes. And you're talking about neighborhoods that have customs homes and million-dollar properties, and I've lived here since 1957. And I saw the life cycle of Pine Hills and what happened there. I lived in the Wekiva area since 1980. And, you know, the place that's already built has done well. The place that got extra things built next to it didn't do well. We're talking about potentially $7 to $21 million of losses by the people that already have homes built there. And I know how appraisers work. I built my house, the last one there in Forest Park Estates, and I also was involved in building the house that I lived in Wekiva. And I know how the real estate agents work and the real estate appraisers work. And we could stand to lose a great deal of money in that neighborhood by having a downward middle, right in the middle of us, you know, and it's not a good idea, and it's not a transition unless it's a transition downward. So thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate being able to speak, even though I hadn't signed up to.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other members of the audience that would like to speak in favor or opposition to this item? Okay, go ahead and come up. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Keel Chimovich. I live at 215 Duncan Trail. I live in Wekiva Springs. Well, Wekiva neighborhood, that is. I'm opposed to this. I went to that meeting that we had, I guess it was a couple months ago, if everyone recalls. I'm sorry I came here late. And we were told we were going to have single-family homes put in there. It sounds like this is going to be not single-family homes. So this is a single-family home community. Kids, would you like it to stay a single-family home community? Yeah. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but let's be real here. That's what I signed up for. Changing the dynamic of our neighborhood is not what we want. I don't know if I speak for everyone here, but that's where I stand. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, very good. At this time, we will close public comment. And let's go ahead and have the applicant come up if you'd like to rebut.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, fellow commissioners. I just want to run through some of the things you heard. One was a fairly consistent theme or suggestion that we're changing density, and I think the Assistant County Attorney alluded to the fact that the future land use map is what establishes density for property. The zoning doesn't establish density on property. We're not asking to increase the allowable density on the property under the county's comprehensive plan. So I just want to clarify that issue because it came up several times. The issue about pedestrian safety and the like, the staff report indicates we're going to be required to connect this project to the existing sidewalk network in the area, so the pedestrian issues will be addressed through this project. There were comments regarding Sand Lake Road and traffic conditions on the like. If you read the staff report, again, it indicates our primary entrance and exit for this project is on Shady Lane. In fact, the entrance off of Sand Lake is limited to a right-in, right-out. And you'll also notice in the staff report, there's an indication that additional traffic improvements may be required at subdivision process. One of those that has been discussed is the installation of a median on Sand Lake Road that would prohibit a left turn into our client's subdivision. So the traffic concerns, I think, on Sand Lake Road have been addressed just through the design of the project. You also heard a buzz phrase these days, the Live Local Act. There's nothing about this project. This project is not a Live Local Act project. Live Local Act is affordable multifamily housing, which is not proposed. Again, there was a suggestion about the underlying character of the area, and I would just, as I indicated in my direct, submit that this is single family next to single family homes. We are not proposing, and we've stipulated on the record, which is essentially all we can do at this point, and I would submit that it is binding on an applicant, a stipulation at the approval hearing that it is going to be single-family detached units, limited to 24, which is driven by the density, which is, again, is 4 units to the net buildable acre, so it's even ratcheted down from 4 dwelling units per gross acre. There was a suggestion that somehow missing middle will allow us to go above and beyond the density. Again, if you read the county's code provision on missing middle, as well as the provision about missing middle on the county's comprehensive plan, you'll see that missing middle is specifically tied to the density allowed in the underlying land use, future land use district. So again, we're LDR here. LDR is limited to 4 dwelling units per acre. There were some suggestions regarding my client, including regarding the community meeting. I was not at the community meeting, but I've reviewed the minutes to that community meeting. There was a suggestion about a website for this project. My client does not have a website for this project. My client has a website for its development business. And there was a suggestion that a statement was made regarding a traffic study. And what my client indicated was that if the county were to require a traffic study, if one was required by the county's requirements, we would do one. And the fact is that a traffic study for a project of this size is not required under the county's requirements because the trip generation at peak hour is not high enough. So that's the reason a traffic study has not been done, is because one's not required on this size of project. And I know you heard from a lot of people. Some of the folks in Seminole County, the staff know that many times I come here representing folks just like the individuals you heard from this evening. So I don't represent just the developer head on the land use monster. I represent local governments. I represent homeowners. And at the end of the day, I mean, you all are a volunteer board, and I don't envy you at times in public hearings, but the issue before you from an applicant's perspective is whether the proposed rezoning is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan and whether the rezoning complies with the requirements, the published requirements of the county's land development code. And while you heard folks mention very legitimate concerns to them, what you did not hear was a single person cite a single provision in the county's comprehensive plan or a single provision in the county's land development code with which this proposed rezoning does not comply. You heard a lot of people say, and it comes from the heart, and they're allowed to say that. They don't want this. They like the status quo. they would prefer something else on the property. But again, that's not the standard for a recommending body like yourselves. The standard for you is, did the applicant demonstrate and present competent substantial evidence that the rezoning, one, is consistent with the comp plan, and two, complies with the land development code? And I would submit that we have. Ms. Apgar's staff report in and of itself is competent substantial evidence that we've met those standards. And as I indicated, as well as one of the speakers, both sides have actually complimented Ms. Apgar on her thoroughness and due diligence in this case. And again, staff has recommended approval, saying that we've met our burden. And I would respectfully submit that the folks you heard from this evening have not met their burden to demonstrate that we have not met and are not consistent with the comp plan and the land development code. So I would respectfully ask this board to recommend approval. And again, as I stipulated in response to Commissioner German's question, I don't mind that motion being made and the recommendation being made subject to or contingent on the stipulations made by council on record this evening during this hearing, that the project is 24 single-family dwelling units, detached dwelling units. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your attention and patience this evening.
Thank you. Are there any further questions of the applicant? No? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Spain.
Thank you.
Board questions, discussion, or a motion? I do have a question of staff that I'd like to address. Caitlin, can you speak as to what the chances of this residual sort of chain reaction in the area, in the surrounding area, of additional requests for missing middle, if that is approved tonight? Are there, how many other properties or I guess properties specifically off of Sand Lake Road or in that area could possibly then request missing middle?
We don't have any active applications for missing middle off of Sand Lake Road, to my knowledge, submitted formally as of this time. I can't speak to like the trend.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, it's hard to answer that question because it's all depends. Dagmar Segura, Development Services Deputy Director. It's hard to answer that question because it all depends on what types of applications we get. As someone mentioned, we have a PUD process, we have straight zoning processes, so it's hard to answer that question. That the proposed rezone is appropriate for the size of the location, it is. That is exactly what Missing Middle was created for infill purposes. That they can pursue a different type of zoning, absolutely. They can go with wider lots, such as R1A, or they can request an increase in density. But based on the existing character of the area, we would not support anything higher than 4 dwelling units per acre. In regards to the lot sizes, it is smaller than the average size of the surrounding communities, but it meets the policies. The analysis that we do is based on compatibility, based on policy.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other board discussion, questions, motion?
I just have a few things to say. I have a couple concerns. One of them is the traffic and the safety. While I appreciate all of the research, Caitlin especially, that you've done and the work that you've done on this project, I'm not sure that there's been enough investigation done on the traffic and the safety, especially when you're putting kids at risk. So that is something that bothers me. And my concern too is, just like Madam Chair was asking, as far as starting a precedence for that area, that is a concern that I'm not quite sure that this is the right location for this project. I'm pro-development, but I think that ultimately what's going to happen is that this is going to reduce property tax values for the neighboring communities, and then The county ultimately will see that in the budget. That's not why I have concerns, but that is one of them. My main concern is the traffic and the safety. And obviously, this starting a precedence for something in the future. The property values, I'm not too happy with that. I think I'm a proponent of missing middle, but I'm just not sure that this is the right location for this project. So for that reason, I am recommending that the Board of County Commissioners deny the ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 agriculture and R1AA single-family dwelling to MM Missing Middle on approximately 7.54 acres located on the west side of Sandy Lane, south of Sand Lake Road.
Okay, board discussion or a second? Discussion or a second? Or the motion dies?
Madam Chair, I agree with the sentiment and with the concerns. However, I have a problem denying it because they have met everything that has to do with the master plans of the county. So that's where I stand. It's difficult for me to vote against this since they have not really come with a plan that is against what we have as a master plan for the county.
While I appreciate that, I still think that the county needs to do a little more homework, especially when it comes to traffic in the future. I don't think that they've thought about traffic. They've thought about utilities and school overcrowding. Maybe right now it's good, but in the future, let's talk about in the next 5 years, what's the snapshot going to look like? So for that reason, there's no way that I can approve this.
I'm not necessarily speaking in favor or against this, but I just want to comment on the traffic. Sand Lake Road is the county's fault. This is the 7-acre project. It's the last one in the door, and you're going to beat that 7-acre project up for the traffic when, you know, they have a property right too, and it's not their fault that Sand Lake's a mess.
Right.
So it is a mess, but it's not their fault. So I don't know that we can hold a 24-lot subdivision responsible.
I just don't want to make matters worse. I mean, it's like adding fuel to the fire. So we need to back the train up and kind of reconsider. Yes, missing middle is I like the designation, but I just don't necessarily think it's in the right area.
I'm going to go ahead and second the motion, mainly because I'm not sure if the argument was made why the zoning needs to be changed to missing middle. I almost feel like a similar project can be built there under different residential zoning for the purpose of either further conversation or at least for there to be a vote. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Very good. In that case, we will recommend denial to the Board of County Commissioners. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 2 on the agenda tonight, which is the Land Development Code.
Madam Chair, just real quick, Tammy, can I get the vote on that? 5-1. Thanks.
Thank you.
I would, yeah.
If everyone who's exiting could do so quietly and quickly, please. We have more items on the agenda. Feel free to stay or be quiet, please.
Hi, good evening.
Maya, I think you can go ahead.
Okay. For the record, Maya Athanas, Principal Planner for the Planning and Development Division. The item I'm presenting right now is a request to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Chapter 5, Chapter 20, Chapter 30, Chapter 35, Chapter 70, and Chapter 90 of the Seminole County Land Development Code.
Could I just make a statement before she starts?
Sure.
You know, I'm not sure how much respect you, as the planning department, have for this board, but, you know, I got this just slightly, maybe 8 days ago, okay? And that's it. And I'm supposed to then digest that, make some decent sense out of it, make some decent recommendations in that period of time. When your Development Advisory Board, they've been working on it for a month. The county commission's seen a lot of your changes 3 or 4 times. We've seen once, okay? And I mean, I'll listen to your presentation, but I'll probably just vote no because I don't know what I'm voting on. I can't digest this. I needed more time, period. And I don't know about the rest of the board, but you're forcing something on us, and I think you're actually abusing us, but that's okay if that's what you guys want to do. You just want to pass it get it through us so you can get on to the commission and be done with us. But I don't like it. And I don't think you gave us a fair opportunity to respond to this and try to deal with this 200 and some pages of, and I know you guys put a lot of work in on it, and I appreciate that, but I'd like to table it, actually, and have another month to really digest it, and then see if we have a serious discussion next month and be done with it. But I'm not going to get in the way of the board maybe that's not the consensus of the board, but that's my feeling.
Is this a recommendation to continue to the next scheduled meeting, or a motion?
Well, I'll make that motion to continue to the next meeting, and I'll see if I get a second.
I'll second that.
Can I just jump in real quick, Chair, real quickly? So you have 2 options here, okay? You can continue it to the next meeting and not hear Maya's presentation now, okay? Or you can hear Maya's presentation, allow for any public comment that maybe it may have come out, and then table the matter or continue it and further your discussion at the next meeting.
Or we could do it in
options.
reverse. We could table it now and let her make her presentation and let the public
Well,
speak.
if you're tabling
Well,
it,
you're
then
right,
you're
right.
putting it aside.
You're
So
right.
I'm just suggesting that maybe
All right.
before the board may want to consider how they want to
I'm
hear this
okay
and
with
move
her making her
forward.
presentation. I'll withdraw my motion for the moment.
Okay.
Then will you withdraw your second, Brandy? Who seconded? You seconded, or? Thank you. Okay,
Very good. Continue,
great.
please, Maya.
Here we go.
Okay. Well, I do apologize for the short notice. I know that is not a long time, so I will also preface that we included a summary of changes, and that is a really, really helpful document. So as you continue to, if you do decide to evaluate this more over the next month, definitely take advantage of that document. We worked really hard on it to try to clearly demonstrate what those changes are. So with that, I'm going to go over the background just quickly, and then as I figured I would structure this, that I can pause after each slide if you'd like to discuss any of the contents on the slide, or we can wait till the end and you can go ahead and give me questions or feedback at that point. So it's totally up to you, but feel free to jump in at any point and interrupt me. That's okay.
Please go ahead with the presentation, and we'll ask questions following.
Okay. So the last major update to the Land Development Code was adopted in January of 2024. As you probably remember, that was a significant reorganization to the zoning chapter. This amendment updates the chapters I just described on the last slide. There are several categories within this amendment, which are general updates to references and clarifications, updates related to housing needs, application and variance trends, updates required by the comprehensive plan, streamlining of processes, and compliance with state regulations. As you know, a majority of these topics have been presented at 3 different work sessions with the Board of County Commissioners, but I will highlight a lot of the major topics, and I'll go into some detail just to help explain them. So in Chapter 30, we are in the general updates category. We're going to correct Scrivener's errors, add a section to address nonconformities due to government takings, remove the development plan requirement for R3, R3A, and R4 rezoning processes, update the permitted uses table to be consistent with state requirements for community residential homes and home-based businesses, compile our sign standards into one section, add standards for alternative sign types countywide, such as wayfinding, awning, and canopy signs. We're modernizing terminology and creating a map delineating the 2 sub-areas of the urban centers and corridors overlay, which is consistent with the comprehensive plan. I do want to make a note that that is really just a graphic. We're just adding a graphic. Those sub-areas are existing in the comprehensive plan, and there are no proposed changes to the overall densities and intensities allowed there, so just keep that in mind.
Maya, can I just interrupt you for a minute? Because when we were talking about the tabling discussion, I forgot to say what I was going to say at the beginning to you all, so I would like to do it now, if you don't mind, Madam Chair. So just, and I believe we've talked about this before, when Senate Bill 180 passed, and it added a restriction to local governments that lasts until 2027, and it says that local governments who have been affected by a hurricane, which that shook out to be everybody in the state, cannot adopt more restrictive or burdensome land development code requirements, comprehensive plan requirements, or administrative processes. So that happened last legislative session. That affected our ability to do some of the updates that we may have previously discussed. I know we had a meeting, you guys have heard some of these changes one time already, but we have looked at everything that we're doing here and made a determination that it's not more restrictive or burdensome to applicants coming in. Everything is either, as Maya said, like updating things, clarifying things, adding definitions, updating based on statutory requirements, or aligning our requirements more with what statutory provisions say. So I just want to get that on the record so nobody's concerned about that, because I know, the board's very concerned about that. Obviously, we don't want to adopt something that may, and our county attorney's office is concerned about it, where it may open us up to potential liability. So we have been very cognizant as we're going through all these changes. Please know that it's our opinion that we're not going to be violating the provisions of Senate Bill 180. So there you go. You have my CYA.
Okay, thank you. Additional updates to Chapter 30 include reorganization of the landscape buffering and open space sections, clarifying that live-work units may operate those uses in the underlying zoning district, clarifying which uses are prohibited within those live-work units. And then in Chapter 35, the changes there are really to address allowing administrative approval of plats. And then in Chapter 90, we're just making some updates as to what types of characters can be used in an address and updating with some of the existing practices that the addressing division is using now. So the updates included with our definitions are to add architecturally compatible. That is a term that is used in the code now, so we do need a definition for it. And it'll also come up again when I go over the changes to the accessory structure standards. We're adding an illustrative example to the cluster subdivision definition, removing community residential homes due to redundancy that is listed in the Section 4 community residential homes, and that is defined by the state. We are revising the dwelling unit accessory definition, adding Florida Water Star, revising live-work unit, revising lot double frontage, revising multifamily to remove dormitories. That does have its own definition, so this is just a cleanup item, and revising the nominal roof overhang definition, which the change to that is really just to allow the nominal roof overhang to encroach into the setback by 24 inches rather than 18. The next category is the housing needs category, so I will go over the affordable housing density bonus. The density bonus for affordable housing is existing, so the comprehensive plan allows up to 7 units an acre for LDR, 12 for MDR, and so on and so forth. The program for affordable housing density bonuses is already in the Land Development Code. However, it is really strict in the sense it requires certain types of lot sizes, and those are not always consistent with some of the other development patterns in the area, and so we've not seen any, we haven't seen anybody interested in using that program, but we do realize that we need some other housing options. So we worked with a consultant to do a market study and then addressed the density bonus program based on the results of that and based on the feedback that we got during the BCC work sessions, which one of the goals is really to influence more homeownership opportunities. So that's really what this is targeted towards. So you'll see in this table, which outlines the density bonus only for LDR and MDR, there is also one in the agenda packet for HDR and MXD, the other two future land use designations. But for the purpose of the size of the slide, I only included these two. And again, this is where it's really targeted, so they have the biggest bonus. But like I said, that is in the comp plan, so we are not proposing a change to the allowable density at all. So I will go over the example for the under low-density residential for very low-income units. The column all the way to the right is an example project using really simple math, 10 acres of buildable area. So in a perfect world, you would get 40 units per that 10 acres with standard density. The affordable housing density bonus allows up to 70 units. That's, again, existing. So this program outlines how you get there and how many units that you would achieve. So in this hypothetical scenario with a 10-acre site at 7 units an acre, if a developer were to max this out, they could get, they would have to provide 10 affordable units, and they would in exchange get 20 extra units at whatever rate they would like to sell it at. Again, this density bonus is existing, so this is the math on how they would work that out. We did also work with our community development department to go over implementation for this and the types of affordability agreement that we would hold for these projects. And we do feel pretty confident that we've worked those things out. And like you know, we did meet with our developer advisory board really to go over this topic because we wanted to make sure that it was something that would actually get used. We don't want to just do something that just sits on the shelf forever like the last one may have. So we did get some good feedback from them. I'm sure you've seen the memo that's in the agenda packet. So that is the affordable housing density bonus. Next, in housing needs, we are proposing alternative design standards. You are probably aware of this, but historically, it is challenging to meet 4 units an acre, to even get close to 4 units an acre in LDR with the minimum lot size and widths of the standard zoning districts that we have. So a lot of times, we've seen that these projects have gone to PD simply to be able to get to their 4 units an acre. So we're trying to streamline that process and have an alternative option for people to get that maximum density without going through PD. This is a really straightforward approach. It simply just allows decreased lot widths in exchange for a 20% open space component in the community, or well, within the development project. And this would only apply to R1B, R1, R1A, and R1AA. And you can see in this table here what the existing lot width is versus what the alternative would be in exchange for that 20% open space. Because of the decrease in the lot width, we do have concerns of these projects meeting their setback requirements for the individual lots for the homes that they build on them. So we are recommending that we reduce the setbacks in these zoning districts across the board. So this would be anybody that has R1A would now have slightly smaller building setbacks, but we're not talking a lot. We're going from like 7.5 feet to 5 feet, or 10 feet on the side to 7.5 feet. So visually, we don't expect it to really look much different, and this would also decrease the amount of variances that we get for setbacks. This is an example. I probably should have had this up for you to look at while I was explaining that, but on the left is a conventional project using 70-foot wide lots. You can see that in this project, we're only able to get to 2.46 dwelling units per acre, but what we're proposing with the alternative design standards, they would get slightly closer, not all the way, because there's always going to be constraints, wetlands, floodplain, utility easements. So this one was able to get to 3.12, and in exchange, there are open space components, which we have heard feedback from the Board of County Commissioners saying that they would like higher quality projects, people having amenities in the community. So that was part of the goal. Next, in housing needs, we did look at missing middle, so that's the topic of the night. We are proposing to replace the requirement for the final development plan with a conceptual plan when rezoning to missing middle. Really, it's just a change in terminology because the final development plan is typically associated with a plan development. This is not a plan development zoning district, so we're just trying to keep it really consistent. So it's mostly a change in terminology there and would be used to demonstrate that they can meet the standards, just as an example, but as of right now, they would not be tied to either of those plans. We are also adding language that connections to adjacent public streets and stub outs to vacant lots would be based on feasibility. And that feasibility is based on the presence of wetlands, water bodies, infrastructure corridors, and other features that may limit or prohibit connectivity. And I do want to mention that this was one of the first topics that we were trying to address with this update. Pretty much as soon as the missing middle zoning district was approved in 2024, we started to look at this and notice, okay, we might want to make some changes. This was a really early recognition that we had. So this was not based on any in particular project at all. The next category is application and variance trends, and we looked at accessory structures. We are proposing to allow accessory structures to exceed the height of the home. So you may remember that when we did that big update in 2024, we changed the allowance that accessory structures cannot be taller than the height of the home. Well, we have a lot of older homes in our communities that maybe are not even close to the 35 feet, which is the tallest height you can have in most of our residential zoning districts. So we've had a handful of variance requests to exceed that height, and all of them, to my knowledge, have been approved. So we're proposing to just go back to what it was before to allow people to have their accessory structures up to the maximum building height in the zoning district. The compromise that we found for this would be that they would need to be architecturally compatible if they're going to be taller than the home. So we're looking for similar material types, obviously the same structure type, if it's going to be taller than the home. And then another update that we are proposing really only applies to A1 properties. So right now, A3, A5, and A10, their accessory structures are not limited by size. And we're recommending that A1 properties that are at least 3 acres be treated the same way, since they're really functioning as one of those larger agricultural or rural properties. Next, in application of variance trends, we looked at the accessory dwelling unit regulations. Right now, accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 35% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling unit, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less. And we have an administrative adjustment option to allow that up to 45% of the gross floor area, or 1,100 square feet. What we're proposing is to remove that administrative adjustment option, since typically they get approved, they ask for the 45%, and they do typically get it. So instead of making people go through this process, we're proposing to allow it up to 50%, or the 1,100 square feet, and then offering 1,600 square feet for A3, A5, and A10, and then that same exemption for the A1 properties that exceed 3 acres. This was workshopped at the BCC work session, and it seemed like we were on the right path. And then, like I said, we would be removing that administrative adjustment option. It just wouldn't be necessary anymore. The next category is streamlining processes. So we took a look at our boat dock regulations. The goal was to allow more projects to be approved administratively and to streamline the process. So right now, if a boat dock is more than 1,000 square feet, it needs to go to the Board of County Commissioners for approval or denial. There has been a request to make this, like I said, more administrative and more streamlined. So what we've seen, typically, these boat docks or boat houses that are more than 1,000 square feet, it's usually because they're on shallow waters. They have a really long walkway, and that just jumps up the calculation for the total square footage. So we workshopped a few different ways to tackle this, and we realized that because the walkway is the issue, that the compromise would be to exclude the walkway from the calculation. So the calculation would only be including the actual boat dock or boat house when that walkway is less than 4 feet wide. So if they're doing like a really wide deck and they're going all the way out, then that would not count to be excluded. It would only be when it's just a standard 4-foot or less walkway. And then the other change that you will probably have some feedback on is that when they do exceed that 1,000 square feet, that those would actually come to this board instead for approval or denial instead of the BCC. Okay, so the next topic in streamlining processes is fences. We took a look at our fence requirements and are proposing to remove fence permit requirements for single-family or duplex properties that do not exceed 6 feet in height with commonly available materials. There are some caveats to that, such as it cannot be adjacent to wetlands, water bodies, other required buffers, or conservation easements. Can't impede any existing functions of any existing easements. It has to be commercially available fencing materials such as wood, vinyl, PVC, or aluminum, so on and so forth. And that would really streamline the process for our building permit review, especially with the fences. I mean, we get calls all the time of people saying, I just want to replace one panel. Like, do I need a permit? And the answer right now is yes. If you're replacing one panel, you need a fence permit. So we think that this will really, really help our residents. The next update to fences is to allow open picket or decorative metal, such as wrought iron for agricultural fencing, because right now they have to do open split rail. It's like a wooden style, and people would like more creative elements on their property. So we're looking at expanding that. And then the last topic for fences is to allow A1 properties in platted subdivisions to follow the residential fencing standards. They are slightly different, but if they're a platted A1 community and they're really not functioning as A1, then they can go ahead and use the residential standards. Further in streamlining processes, we took a look at our plan development regulations. The first major thing is we need to clarify the permitted uses for PDs in the HIP Airport Future Land Use Designation. So we worked with the City of Sanford and we worked with the Sanford Airport to determine which uses would be most compatible with this Future Land Use Designation. We took a look at our comprehensive plan, and together we came up with a list that we feel is really appropriate, and it is necessary. We need to be able to guide people as to what uses are allowed. We also are proposing a general reorganization of this section just to make it more easy to read and digest. We're removing one of the unused greater benefit options and replacing it with other types of greater benefits, maybe more modernized options that the county would like to see, such as undergrounding of utilities, water star practices, dark sky lighting, and substantial native plantings above the minimum requirement. And then I believe this is the last topic, which is compliance with state regulations. So we are removing the separation requirement between alcoholic beverage establishments and churches, residential, and like establishments. That is consistent with state statute. And then to be consistent with statute further, when it comes to the separation between alcoholic beverage establishments and schools, we're proposing for it to go down to 500 feet. And then a separate topic, is removing the requirement for Seminole County to track communication tower master plans. That is not one of our functions, and we do not do that now, so we're just cleaning it up and taking it out of the code.
Maya, can I jump in here real quick? The separation issue too was, as you guys have probably noticed, there's a lot of like strip malls that have churches coming in to like large, or schools coming in to larger areas, and you have existing establishments there that have, you know, restaurants or have alcoholic beverages sales. So we've seen a lot of that intermingling more, so that was another reason too why that change was, you know, suggested kind of in the first place, because we were seeing a lot of those instances.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. So with that, that is the end of my presentation. Staff requests the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance amending the Seminole County Land Development Code per the following motion.
Thank you. Are there questions of staff, or would you like to revive your motion to continue?
Public, I think there's a couple of people in the public ones.
Okay, I do have some comment cards, but if we're going to continue, we're going to hear some presentation.
Well, they're here, so let them.
Okay. The only comment card that I have on this is, well, before that, were there any other questions of staff? Any board member wanted to address?
I have a question, actually. Sorry about that. Why are you proposing that the accessory dwelling units, that the removal of the owner-occupied requirement be there? So now you're going to be able to have accessory dwelling units in a non-owner-occupied residence. So why is that requirement being removed?
So that requirement is not being proposed to be removed, so I'm not sure if maybe by chance that was included in the agenda packet, but that is not in the ordinance. We're not making any change to the owner occupation for the ADUs.
Okay.
That was a discussion with the board, and the board, that came up in discussion in one of our workshops, and the consensus was not to remove it, so.
So it's staying the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. On the missing middle, there's a couple spots where it says no portion of the projects may be gated. Like, is that, what's the reason behind that? Is it just for traffic
Yes.
flow, or?
So maybe a bit of clarification. That is existing language. We are not proposing to change that. That has not been discussed at any of our work sessions, to my knowledge. I believe that the purpose for that is because missing middle is supposed to be infill and provide walkable communities integrated into the rest of the community. So, you know, typically we don't see gated communities in that circumstance, but we are not proposing to make any changes to that part of the language.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll note too, if, you know, as you know, like, you all are the ones that are reviewing this for comp plan consistency or any issues that you may see with it. So if you have comments on things or things that you'd like to see or something different, you can always, you know, put those on the record, and we can relay them to the Board of County Commissioners when it goes to them. And, you know, we can tell them the Planning and Zoning Board had these comments, or, you know, in addition to whatever your motion was, we can update them.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, then I did get another public comment card as well, but we'll begin the public comment portion with those in support. I have Bob Turnage.
Evening, Commissioners. Robert Turnage, 7 Trilby Branch, Longwood, Florida. I'm representing two organizations. I'm chairman of the board for Central Florida Home for Good. We build market-quality apartments, and we rent them out for about half the market rate. Second Street, we have 20 apartments, 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartments, just 2 blocks from here on Second Street. I'm also on the Seminole County Board Advisory Board. We meet with Dagmarie and her staff on a monthly basis. We've had the chance to go through all this in detail. We made a lot of comments. Some of our comments were incorporated with the idea of not eliminating requirements, but finding ways to make the process more simple, easier, quicker, because if the process is quicker, then the developer spends less money less time on mortgages, and hopefully we can deliver projects to people at a lower cost. I'd like to suggest that we support both organizations. The proposed update to the affordable housing density bonus for a couple of reasons. If I can remember the example, if a developer asks for 10 very low income apartments or houses, then he gets 20 market rate houses. Now, if we're developing a piece of property, everything we do will probably be very low income, though we're not going to call it that. That doesn't have a good connotation with the public, who were here earlier. Just for example, there are 20 units over here. One's been there 3 years. One's been there 1 year. Sheriff Lima did a survey. We've never had a emergency 911 call, ever. That's with 20 units, mainly families, probably 40, 50 people. The other really interesting thing, and we've talked to some of the for-profit developers, if a for-profit developer wants to develop the example, ask for 10 very low-income units, he gets 20 marketplace units. Could be houses, apartments. So we've already talked to them about, they'll develop the 20 plus the original plan, the market value houses, give us the land, we'll develop the 10 very low-income houses. It'd be the same architecture, the same units. It would not look any different. That would give us the opportunity to have the land for free, build the units, and rent those out or sell those at below market rate. So I know you haven't had a lot of time to review this. We do think it's a very good way to improve the housing affordability process in Seminole County without asking for Seminole County tax dollars or any other kind of support. I know you've been here a long time. I'm trying to be succinct, and that's what I'd like to offer tonight. Unless you have any questions, I will sit down.
Thank you very much. Those in opposition, Allison Yurko.
I just had a handout that I'll put in for the record and for each of your members and make its way to the county attorney, deputy county attorney. And I'm like the gentleman there. This kind of blindsided me. I just became aware of it yesterday. The thing that I wanted to bring to your attention.
Your address, please.
Oh, yes. PO 1911 Summerlin Avenue, Winter Park, 32789. I'm the successor co-trustee of the Albert Yurko Trust, which is an 8.5-acre commercially zoned parcel with a commercial future land use. It's at a highly urban area at the signalized intersection there, right by the expressway, the Wekiva Expressway. There's gas stations there. My dad got commercial entitlements under the Wekiva River Protection Act back in the 90s. We have been trying to use our commercial entitlements for the last 6 years. Every time we try to use them, we get blocked. We're now in litigation. ACE is familiar with that. The county has sued us, trying to say that we're not entitled to use the Live Local Act, and that's really not what I'm here to talk about. That's got a 25-acre density unit entitlement. We feel very strongly as a family. We've had homeless people living there over the years. We're very committed to having an attainable housing project there. That said, I'm here today to just bring to your attention, I didn't hear any reference to the proposed deletion of the R3 language. That's there at tab 1. It's 30.4.8.2. That sets forth a residential density for R3 of 13 density units per acre. And the reason why that's significant to us is because one of our projects that we've tried along the way involved a multifamily project that we were trying to get approved. We had a staff recommendation for that. That is in tab B. We actually had a determination by then Director Rebecca Hammock that was vetted by then Deputy County Attorney Paul Chipock, and that we had a baseline vested rights determination of, and I'll read it into the record here. The subject property currently has a C1 zoning classification which permits residential development in accordance with the R3 zoning classification. This was the current adopted density of the subject property existing as at the time of the enactment of the definition and the density and the vested density of the project. Otherwise, lands in the East Lake Sylvan Transitional Area are limited to 2.5 acres. So you can see why we're concerned about the attempt to take out that R3 language. Again, I'm heartened that NACE's told you that nothing in here is more restrictive, so maybe this is something we can work out and have resolved before the next hearing. But I did want to put that of record, and we'll carry on from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, would any other member of the audience like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Okay, come up. And state your name and address for the record, and when you're done, go ahead and fill out a comment card with Tammy.
Ryan Waxberg, 1098 South Oleander Street, Longwood, Florida, 32750. Overall, I think I agree with most of it. I really just more had a question that I'd like addressed. I have concerns when I hear about setbacks being reduced simultaneously with permits for fences going away. We have more and more pedestrians, we have more and more cyclists, we have more and more e-moto users, scooter users, kids on streets getting hurt already. Often they are being blamed, parents are being blamed. Whether you're for or against that is irrelevant. I just want to know that we are addressing how that will affect the visibility on our sidewalks and streets for really both the pedestrians and the motorists that will not be able to see them. I ride my bike every day to work, and every day some car almost kills me. I see kids flying through stop signs every day coming to and from work. When I hear that you are reducing setbacks and getting rid of permits for fences up to 6 feet, which is taller than I am, taller certainly than all of those children are. I just want to know that that's at least being addressed and taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Maya, would you like to address that?
Sure. So I'll address his comments first. We are not proposing any changes to the setbacks for fences. So fences can still only be placed where they're allowed to be placed now. So that hopefully would not come up. Also, we do have site requirements for corner lots, for any kind of fencing or any structures that are adjacent to a right-of-way. So that is still going to be in place. But it is definitely a concern. Safety is always a major concern, and we do always think about that. I will also address the other.
Let me first
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
We're going to
Sure.
close the public comment portion of the meeting, and go ahead and
Okay.
proceed.
So I understand the concerns about removing the density language that's in the Land Development Code for the R3 and R3A. Because when you look at that, it does seem like we're removing it. That density is not regulated by the Land Development Code. That density is regulated by the comprehensive plan, which we are not changing. So there will be no change to the density that's allowed in R3 and R3A. It's just misplaced. It probably should not be in the code. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll return to board discussion, questions, or would you like to revive your motion to continue to the next scheduled meeting?
Yeah, I'll still move to continue this to the next regularly scheduled meeting. I'll see if the rest of the board was comfortable with what they heard or what we can do.
Thank you. Commissioner Greer, are you going to revive your second?
Okay, can we stop for just a second? So, so we don't have to renotice, we need to have a date for that meeting, so can we just get a date from
I
Tammy
said the next
for the
regularly
record?
scheduled meeting, so whatever date that is. What is it?
Yeah, we just need to put it on the record, that's why I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
what
Tammy
is the
tell us
date?
what it is.
I don't know what the date is. May the 6th, yep. May
Okay.
the 6th, thank you, Tammy.
Okay, we have a motion to continue this item till the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board, which is May 6th, 2026. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, very good. This item will be tabled until next meeting. Oh, we have a motion to continue this item to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the P&Z Board, which is May 6th, 2026. That was unanimous. Yes. Okay. Moving on to item number 3, which is Life Point Christian Church special exception.
Good evening, Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. This item is a request for a special exception for the Life Point Christian Church to allow the existing church to expand in the A1 zoning district on 2.44 acres located on the northwest corner of E.E. Williamson Road and Myrtle Lake Hills Road. The applicant is requesting approval of a special exception to expand their existing civic assembly use. The existing church structure is approximately 7,000 square feet in size with a seating capacity of 200 seats. The property also includes a 1,952 square foot single-family residence that's utilized for church office use. The applicant proposes to construct a new 6,400 square foot building with a seating capacity of 250 seats to utilize for worship service, and the original structure will be utilized for children's ministry activities during the worship service. The facility operates primarily on Sundays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The church's office hours are Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The parking requirement for this assembly use is 63 parking spaces. The improvements to the site will provide 65 parking spaces, meeting that requirement under the Seminole County Land Development Code. The site must also meet all regulations under Land Development Code, such as setbacks, buffering, and site lighting. In accordance with the Seminole County Land Development Code, Section 30.3.5, Community Meeting Procedures, the applicant conducted a community meeting on February 9, 2026. Details of the community meeting have been provided in your agenda package. Section 30.3.1.5 subsection A of the Seminole County Land Development Code states that certain criteria must be met for the Board of County Commissioners to approve a special exception request. Staff finds that the request meets the criteria of the recommended conditions as stated in the approval development order. In addition to the typical conditions of approval for special exception, staff is recommending that there be no outdoor sound amplification without a noise permit from the county. Staff has received 9 letters of opposition, one of which is a petition with 47 names listed, and 3 letters of support, which have been provided to the board for your consideration. Those who we receive letters from who provided their addresses in close proximity to the church have been reflected on the support and opposition map on the PowerPoint. Staff requests that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the Board of County Commissioners approval of the special exception and associated development order as per the following motion. Based on staff's findings and the testimony and evidence received at the hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission finds the request meets the identified portions of the Land Development Code and recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception and associated development order to allow with conditions the use of a community civic assembly church in the A1 agriculture zoning district on approximately 2.44 acres located on the northwest corner of E.E. Williamson Road and Myrtle Lake Hills Road. This concludes my presentation. I'll go for any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions of the applicant? I'm sorry, questions of staff? Seeing none, is the applicant present?
I'm Phil Ayers at 150 Sunset Drive, Longwood, Florida. I'm the pastor at Life Point Christian Church. I've been the pastor there for 23 years. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for the diligence and careful consideration that you'll give to this matter. We're grateful also to our neighbors in the community for participating in attendance tonight, for gauging this process. We take that very seriously. We're here to request a special exception to allow a modest expansion of our existing church facility, one that we believe is reasonable in scope, compatible with the surrounding area, and consistent with our longstanding presence in the community. Our proposal is to construct, as was stated, a 6,400 square foot sanctuary that will be primarily used for Sunday worship services. The new space will provide seating for 250 people, which replaces our current worship space, which seats 200. The new sanctuary will include a foyer, restrooms, a small video room, a small storage room, and a room for nursing mothers. There are no classrooms included in this new structure. For context, our existing facility is just over 7,000 square feet, so this is not a large-scale expansion, but a practical step to accommodate our current congregation. And before I go further, I want to address a concern that's been raised in the community. There's been some confusion suggesting that this project is intended to expand into a private school or a higher intensity weekday operation. I want to state clearly, this is not an expansion of a school. It's a modest expansion of Sunday worship space. We do not operate a traditional private school. We have a homeschool program that offers classes for a few hours on Tuesday and Thursday to families who already homeschool their children, and that program is not being expanded as a part of this proposal. From a land use perspective, this project does not increase weekday intensity, which is why it was determined during the county's pre-application review that a traffic study was not required. We understand the traffic's concern, especially given the nearby elementary school and the challenges at the intersection of E.E. Williamson and Myrtle Lake Hills Road. That matters to us as well. As both pastor of Life Point and resident of Shadow Hill neighborhood, which is right across the street, I personally experience the same traffic patterns, and I share those concerns as well. The project's designed to serve our congregation primarily on Sundays and does not introduce weekday demand beyond what already exists today. As a church, we've been around since 2002. We started at Alter Meese Bentley Elementary School. That's in Sanford. We moved to a local theater. We spent several years at the YMCA, and then in 2013, after a decade of ministry, we purchased our current property in order to establish a permanent presence to better serve our community. Over the past few years, we've seen steady, healthy growth, particularly among young families, which led us to begin planning for additional Sunday worship space through a capital campaign that we called Next. Essentially, our goal has simply been to continue serving the next generation well. Our vision for the past 15 years as a church has been focused on Christ, faithful in the community, and we take both parts of that very seriously. We're committed not only to worship and teaching, but also to being a good neighbor to the community around us. We regularly open our facility to serve others in the community. We host additional church congregations on the weekend. We provide space for local HOA meetings in the evenings. We support groups like Scouts, and since 2002, we've been a polling location for Longwood. We also provide ongoing benevolent support for both church members and others in the community, helping with food, rent, and other needs. We've never turned away someone who's come to our property in need of food assistance. At its core, this request is simple. It's a modest expansion for Sunday worship with no increase to weekday intensity and no change to the character of the surrounding area. We've been here for years, we live here, and we care deeply about this community. We're simply asking for the opportunity to continue serving it well. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there questions of the applicant?
I have one, just, I'm not clear. I see on your site plan here, the new sanctuary of 6,000 plus feet, and your existing building, which stays, I guess, of 7,000 feet.
Yeah.
So really, that's not a small expansion. You're actually adding a full 6,000 feet. And what's the 7,000 feet going to do then?
Well, that current building would be used for family ministry during Sunday, so this would turn into children's programming for Sundays.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? No? All right, thank you very much. I know that there are some members of the audience here that would like to speak on this item. We'll start with those in support. I have Phil Ayers. You just spoke as the applicant, right? Okay. Matt Clark.
Good evening, Matt Clark, 200 Ramblewood Drive, Sanford, Florida, 32773. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Matt Clark, and I am the family pastor at Life Point Christian Church. Thank you for the opportunity to share today. Healthy conversations are a cornerstone of our country's foundation. There seems to be a misunderstanding that you may hear this evening, and I'd like to clarify, just as Pastor Phil did, respectfully, with 3 points. First, our building project began before Freedom Christian Academy ever existed, which is the homeschool program. This project is about accommodating the growth of our church. We are currently holding 2 services and need space for worship. Our entire original intent was to build for these specific reasons. One was the family-centered. Our family ministry is growing and our children's space is filling up, so we had to add a second service. We are committed to strengthening families by creating opportunities for parents, children, aunts, uncles, grandparents, that they can learn and grow together in our facility. Intergenerational connection matters, and it's how values are passed on and how the next generation is supported. So the first one is family. The second one is foyer, our foyer connection. Our current layout places our foyer between our children's ministry rooms, which are split on both sides. This creates congestion during our kids' ministry check-in, with people gathering in the same area where families are trying to move through. We are seeking to improve that flow to create a safer, more functional environment by providing a dedicated space for connection and movement, while better supporting our children's ministry check-in process. Family, foyer, and the last one is first impressions. Forgive the pastoral alliteration. First impression, our building exterior does not reflect what is happening inside. We have had many people come in the building and say, this is not what I expected. Unfortunately, human tendency is to judge a book by its cover. When we want to improve how our facility represents itself within the community and improve the outside look of it. I say these things to help you understand the purpose is first and foremost and only for the church and for our worship. The second misunderstanding that you may hear this evening is we are not a school. We are not registered or licensed at a school at any level, city, county, or state. Third, the plans submitted to the county reflect exactly what we are building: a sanctuary, a foyer, and a restroom. There are no plans for a school because we are not building one. Freedom Christian Academy is a homeschool supported program. Families who are already legally homeschooling choose to participate as a supplement. Parents remain faithfully responsible for their children's education. So when it comes to the concerns are raised about a future school or traffic related to a school or an infrastructure for a school. Those concerns
Thank you,
are
Mr.
based
Clark.
on something that is simply not part of our plans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl Barnes. Following Cheryl, I have Brian Barnes. If
That's
you'd
my
like
husband.
If you'd like to go ahead and come up, sir, you'll be next.
The reason I'm here tonight, my one son's in the hospital, but we know that this is very, very important, because in this particular neighborhood where the church is, we live catty
Could you please
corner.
state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Cheryl Barnes, 991 Citruswood Court, Longwood, Florida. And we are catty corner from the church. We're the second house down from the corner. So in our backyard, we can see all the goings on in the church over there. And in 30 years since we've lived there, we've never seen anything that was bad or negative. It's only a positive for the families in the area. So we're very happy to have lived there and for the church. We're very pro-church. We have a church right across the street from us, too. But, you know, they have to get along with the neighborhood. The HOA has never complained about any of the churches and that. And the church, Phil is the pastor there. He's wonderful. The church is wonderful. It's all wonderful. There's, you know, nothing bad, nothing negative, zero negative about the church. Where they're building, they've already had that land for years. They're just expanding, you know, which they're going to build a very nice sanctuary. We're very thrilled, we're very excited about that, and we do go to that church. So I just wanted to come and give my 2 cents for whatever it's worth.
Thank you very much.
All right,
ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Barnes? Following Mr. Barnes, we'll have James Gromlich.
Brian Barnes, 991 Citruswood Court, Longwood, Florida. Yes, as to go along with what my wife was saying there, is for 30 years we've lived right there across the street from the church. Now, being also Longwood residents for that amount of time, yes, we have seen exponential growth and stuff in the area, which is going to lead to a little more traffic. Most of our traffic, though, however, comes from Woodlands Elementary School, of course, 5 days a week, twice a day. The traffic backs up some, you know, it's not to the point of what we'd seen earlier on the video of just pure abstract craziness, but for a church to have a service on Sundays, which is the lowest traffic time of the week, almost zero traffic in the area, for that to have a heavy impact on the traffic in the area and cause congestion and stuff is just not the case at all. I mean, Sundays in the area is like about the most peaceful time to go out and get your grocery shopping done and whatever running around that you need to get done and everything, because it's a very low traffic time. So we have, in essence, we have a church that's a beacon of light in the community, hence the growth. We have the request for an addition to the sanctuary, which that's exactly what it is a place of worship. So that's going to have no impact on congestion or traffic, especially on a Sunday, which is the lowest traffic time of the week. Now, I can understand if it was during the week, whenever there's already crazy traffic going on with the school and everything, which is right out on the same E.E. Williamson Road. But I've also, living 30 years in the area that we have, we can witness and see Myrtle Lake Hills Drive and E.E. Williamson Road. And the only time that there is congestion or any type of traffic either entering or exiting that area is during these school periods of school coming in the mornings, and of course letting the kids out in the afternoons, or around the typical classic 5 o'clock rush hour, 5 or 6 o'clock, you know. But outside of that, in my opinion, there's no impact on traffic or congestion for a church that is exiting Sunday after the service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gromlich.
James Gromlich, 382 West Wing Court, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746. Thank you for this opportunity. You're probably going to hear the same thing from me that you've heard from Phil and Matt. I've been a partner at Life Point Christian Church since our first Sunday in 2002. In the past 24 years, I have served as an elder twice, taught numerous classes, been involved with something there most nights of the week. I am also on the oversight committee for our building project. Our church has recently experienced steady growth through COVID. Not through COVID, since COVID. Much of our recent growth has come in the form of families with babies and children of all ages. As part of our care ministry, I have personally delivered meals to three families with newborn babies in just the last 6 weeks to help out. LifePoint needs more space for our growing family ministry and Sunday school classes. Moving to multiple service has not helped our space issues. We really need to build a new auditorium to get out of our own way. LifePoint has no alternate plan to build a private school. Anyone who says otherwise is probably just misinformed or uninformed. We don't have a license or a permit to run a private school, and we don't want one. We do have a permitted homeschool resource program that helps about 10 families who homeschool their kids by offering supplemental instruction 2 days a week for a few hours, not during rush hour. I don't think LifePoint has ever scheduled an event that significantly impacted rush hour traffic in our 12 years at this location. Some people may be worried about possible water drainage. While I don't believe we are currently causing any issues, this project will certainly bring us up to spec with Florida Management Water District requirements and further safeguard surrounding areas from possible drainage issues by adding more on-site water retention. At LifePoint, our motto is focused on Christ and faithful in the community. LifePoint wants to be a good neighbor and positively impact our community. We have deep roots and partner with groups such as Embrace Families Foster Care. For 8 years at Christmas time, we've provided presents for foster kids who might not otherwise have Christmas. We support the Pregnancy Center of Sanford, who offers counseling, resources, and help to expectant mothers and fathers. We also offer various local homeowners associations regular use of our facilities for meetings. Seminole County uses our facility as a polling place during elections. We even let Duke Energy and the guys paving the road a while back park their machines on our property to keep them out of traffic and out of local neighborhoods. There are numerous other organizations and groups who benefit from our facilities. We try to be a good neighbor. We want to continue to be a good neighbor, and we also want a new sanctuary to move our adults out of the way of our family ministry. These two things are not mutually exclusive. By moving our adults to a new building separate from the youth, we can provide our youth, toddlers, and infants with a more secure and accommodating facility all their own. This has been our goal from the start, and it's our only goal. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving now to those in opposition, I have Ronald Stein.
Good evening. Ronald Stein. I live at 1374 North Marcy Drive, Longwood, Florida. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this subject. I'm a resident of the Bay Lagoon subdivision, and my property is adjacent to the northwest portion of the church property. It's important to note that my property sits approximately 25 feet lower in elevation as compared to the church property. I do have several concerns regarding the proposed plan, specifically the parking lot paving and the proposed retention ponds. The new building is planned for the south side of the existing structure. The proposal includes a retention pond and paved parking area. The retention pond is to be situated on the north side of the property between the existing church and my property. I strongly object to the placement of a retention pond in that proposed location. During periods of heavy rain or storms, hundreds of gallons of water will potentially percolate down to my property and those of my neighbors, given the elevation difference. Heavy rainfall will cause water from the paved parking area to flow north, increasing runoff towards the retention pond. Currently, rainfall is distributed evenly over the entire church property. Water naturally percolates towards the path of least resistance. A retention pond will more than likely direct percolation down to the adjoining properties, mine and my neighbors. I would strongly request that an alternative be considered, such as permeable parking pavers. I'd like to give the board an example of parking pavers that might resolve the issue. During the year 2000, the Woodlands School was expanded. The Woodlands retention pond was enlarged at the same time. Following these changes, a major hurricane struck Central Florida in 2003, causing the retention pond to overflow, and numerous properties on the west side of our subdivision were flooded. Given this issue, I would like to request that if a retention pond is approved, I would like some type of guarantee from the church and/or the county that I'm not going to get flooded if the pond overflows, and B, that there is going to be no issues due to percolation. Thank you.
Next, we have Amanda Kissinger, and following Amanda, we'll have Dr. Jeff Kissinger. Sure.
Jeff Kissinger, 1630 Highland Drive, Longwood, Florida. Good evening to the board members. My name is Dr. Jeff Kissinger, and I'm here to advocate for the neighbors of Myrtle Lake Hills, Northridge, Northridge Point, and Bowling Farms. Our communities are in a unique and dangerous position. We are a funnel neighborhood. Over 400 households rely on one single point of ingress and egress at Myrtle Lake Hills Road and E. Williamson. When this is blocked, we are trapped. This application represents a significant high-intensity expansion at the very bottleneck of our only way out. Did this board evaluate this applicant as a house of worship or also a growing education provider? What is the plan for Freedom Christian Academy for growth? This has not been transparent, at the least. We are not against a house of worship at all, but neighbors are shocked when they learn that it's also a growing education provider. The Freedom Christian Academy is, by their own admission, actively recruiting growing enrollments, funded by state vouchers, now serving all grades, not just K through 6 or K through 8, but on their website, K through 12, going from a 2-day a week to a 3-day next year. It says it on their website. I didn't hear that tonight. There are no guardrails to stop it scaling full-time if this is approved. Incongruency. This application is listed as a 6,400 square foot church sanctuary, but the operational reality is it is also a regional private educational provider with a code-rated capacity for hundreds of more students. This is fundamentally incongruent with the Seminole County Future Use Plan, specifically 2.1 compatibility. The county plan mandates that new developments be compatible with the existing neighborhood character. A high-intensity education operation in a quiet A1 and R1 neighborhood funnel is the literal definition of incompatibility. Policy 10.1, congruency. Approving this special exception degrades the level of service for safety in our community by creating a weekday traffic quirk at our only exit effectively violates the county's own congruency requirements. Additionally, the fire marshal can deny expansions that impair emergency access. If an ambulance can't reach a resident because of safe traffic stacking, this special exception becomes a permanent danger and planning failure. These are at odds with our community and the Seminole Future Use Plan. I want to close with why this is also personal. My parents and my family have lived in Myrtle Lake Hills since 1986. For decades, my mom and dad served this very community as Longwood mail carriers. They are here tonight. They know these roads better than any traffic engineer. They spent 40 years delivering mail to your homes, these very roads and intersections. My mom was actually severely injured on her mail route and rushed to the hospital to save her life. They deserve to age in place safely. I respectfully ask this body to apply the Seminole Future Use Plan and please deny this special exception today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Kissinger, please.
I'm Amanda Kissinger. I live at 1630 Highland Drive, Longwood, Florida, 32750. So I had a whole speech written out, but I just wanted to the key parts that I'm really concerned about is getting in and out of the neighborhood. And there's, like Jeff said, there's 400 different homes behind that church that all use Myrtle Lake Hills Road to get in and out. I literally this morning went and took a dozen photos, and you could see how backed up it gets. If this establishment were to go ahead and expand and take advantage of some of the dollars that are available for those voucher programs, and they were to expand their educational offerings in the future, which they say they don't have intention to do that now, but who's to say that's not going to change in the future, then we all pay the price. Those of us who've actually invested in our community. I sit on the board at the Myrtle Lake Hills Road HOA board. So I've spoken with so many of those people. Not one of them knew anything about this construction going on. It was the first time I actually saw the community announcement, which I would think if it's a community announcement that it would be dispersed in the community. I only saw it when I saw the agenda. I opened it up, I sent it along to a few of the board members, and I asked, have you guys seen this? Did you hear about this? Did you go? Nobody knew anything. The only time any of us found out about this was when someone in our group chat for the board members communicated, does anyone seen the sign and know what it's about? And that's what got all of us starting looking into this a lot more. So it's not that they were actually actively reaching out to our community. They didn't get buyback from any of us that I've heard of. And in fact, one of the other board members, she said she spoke with the president of one of the other neighborhoods, and they didn't know anything about it. So this is kind of a big surprise for a lot of us. My main concern is, why haven't they proposed a direct entrance and exit onto E.E. Williamson to keep their regional traffic out of our residential community? That's the hard thing. I mean, they own the property that butts up against E.E. Williamson. They could easily alleviate so much of this issue simply by building an access and entry point there. But as it exists today, it's over on Myrtle Lake Hills Road. And when they're coming out, and I heard what they said about it only impacting on Sunday. That's just not true. I've seen countless times where I've had to struggle getting in, or even just making it to the stop sign at E.E. Williamson, because there's so much traffic coming in and out of that, or coming out of that church. It's just, I don't understand why they haven't proposed adding a road, leaving their church directly onto the main road. That's it.
Thank you. Richard Hoffman.
Hi, my name is Richard Hoffman. I live at 1372 North Marcy Drive in Longwood, Bay Lagoon subdivision, which wraps around the property. We border the church right here. Our property is here. That's the retention pond that is being proposed. The project is going to exacerbate water issues we have from the church property already. There is, as Mr. Stein said, there's an incredible drop-off between our yard and their property, 20 feet according to my GPS on my Apple Watch. So the rainwater percolates down and is going to seek the lowest level. After summer rains, and especially when we are hit with hurricane-related rain, our backyards pond up as others do nearby. After hurricanes Irma and Ian, it took 6 weeks for the water to recede and our lawn to be not soggy. Much of that can be attributed to constant percolation and water flow from the church property, too. This is, if you could go back to the initial slide, take a look at how big that retention pond is on that property. And again, Bay Lagoon wraps around that edge, and we have quite a large area where we border. Bay Lagoon is not foreign to retention pond planning miscalculations. The west side of our neighborhood is adjacent to Woodlands. The retention pond was enlarged. When the school was renovated, the new pond couldn't handle the rain volume and it overflowed and it traveled to the lowest level. And I witnessed personally the water gushing through those house yards, and there was damages, and the county had to settle with property owners there. In the staff review, it says that the zoning change will not impede the surrounding residents. Flooding neighborhood properties is a major impediment. The 6,400 square foot building is also going to impact residences with visual and loss of privacy impediment. We've had harmony with churches that have existed on this property. We've been there since 1990. But this project, I'm really concerned about with the neighbors experiencing flooding issues. And I just recommend that you deny the zoning, otherwise history is going to repeat itself. We've had enough flooding issues, and we just want to keep the harmony, and we do object to this project.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Is there any other member of the audience tonight that would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Okay, come up, please state your name and address for the record. And then after you're finished with your comments, please stay and fill out a comment
I
card with
did
Tammy.
fill out a comment form, but I said no until I heard some comments.
Oh, okay.
My name is Alan Thixton. I live at 688 Brightview Drive, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746. Good evening to you all, and thank you for spending this time with us. I appreciate it. It's my first time. I would like you to understand, for example, sir, you asked about the why 6,500 versus 7,000 square feet. The other building is older and contains a large kitchen and areas to feed people. We're using that as a combination of the children and our ministry. That building will still be used for food and ministry purposes, and it will allow us to do more in that fashion by separating the two types of duties, services versus worship. I understand the concerns about traffic. I'm going to deal with that first quickly. I use Google Maps quite a bit. I see more than one way in and out of that neighborhood. I've bicycled through that neighborhood, and there is more than one way in or out. You have to go through a neighborhood, and you have to go slow, but there's another way through, and I've used it. Now, the next one is...
We're not going to have crosstalk. Everyone will have a chance at the microphone to make their comments if they'd like.
The next one is the water retention. I have to say I wasn't aware of that, and it should be taken into consideration. Thank you for spending this time with me.
Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Jennifer Cole. I live at 1534 Myrtle Lake Hills Road. I live on Myrtle Lake Hills, so I'm representing here as not only a parent of FCA, but as a community member. I am a resident of the community of Myrtle Lake Hills. It is important to clarify that the exit is in concern is not the sole point of access. There is an alternative route to exit and entrance through, like he just stated, another entrance. It's just the back way. So it is not the sole in and out. As a member who serves in the church, sometimes we stand in back, and the church is just growing, which is incredible. And sometimes we need more chairs. So our church is filling up. We don't always have all the chairs out, so we put more chairs out. And if that doesn't go to show that we are growing, I don't know what is. The building of our growing church is not a home educational program facility. The proposed building expansion is intended to serve as a church sanctuary. This distinction is important when considering the nature of the frequent of use as well as the potential impact on traffic flow. So not only am I a resident, I am a parent of a child who attends FCA, which I'd like to clarify again is not a traditional school, but is a home instructional program. As parents, we would know if the school is expanding. This is our first year here, and our plan is to go there until our son is in 8th grade, which is their current, it's K through 8 right now. And we have not been passed on any information of it expanding to 12th grade or any larger. Also, a lot of the children who do attend FCA, we live in the neighborhoods, and a lot of the times, obviously it was a little chillier, but we ride our bikes. We hardly even drive unless it's raining. So impact on traffic is, from what I see, and again, live in the neighborhood, I don't see that at all. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other members of the audience who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Would the applicant like an opportunity for rebuttal?
Hi, my name is Rick Dixon, 102 South Orange Street, New Smyrna Beach. I'm the project engineer. We'll be the project engineer for the project. I just wanted to let people know that at this point, no significant engineering activities have taken place. We put the components of the site plan on a conceptual site plan just to see how all of the different components would fit on the site plan. We have many steps to go through while we get to final design to meet the county's requirements for the 100-year storm and for the stormwater pond, and to meet the South Florida Water Management District requirements for the project. So there will be a significant amount of engineering going in the project. The configuration of the site may change. Actually, in the pre-application meeting, the county did make a comment that maybe the pond would be better suited closer to E.E. Williamson. So those items will be taken care of. We'll meet all the requirements of the county and the Water Management District, and we will not be shedding any water onto the adjacent properties.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from the board, discussion, or do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just from a few other things, I just wanted to clarify. So in terms of letting the neighbors know, we did hold a meeting on February 9th, and we did a mailing postcard to the list of people that was sent to us to send out. So I think that was a couple of hundred addresses. I don't know if everybody was on that address, but we did send that out, and we did hold that meeting on February 9th. I know a couple of the individuals that are here tonight were there at that meeting. As far as the parking, I believe that is intended to be crushed shell parking. That's not paved parking, so I do believe there's some water run through there. Our engineer might know better about that. There may be a misunderstanding about the school. It does say K to 12, but it only goes to 12th grade for piano lessons. Our golf program, we have a homeschool sports program that meets on Wednesday, but at Castleberry Golf Club. So it doesn't meet on the property. So it's not like there's classes on Wednesday. That's a whole separate thing. And it goes to 12th grade in Bible as well. But the rest of the school is K through 8 for core science, and that's Tuesday and Thursday. And the growth plan for the school is simply, well, of course, we'd like for the school to grow, but it doesn't have anything to do with our sanctuary. The sanctuary is a Sunday worship facility. We do not have any plans to move to more than 2 days a week. That's not what we feel like we're called to do. We want to serve homeschool families with a 2-day-a-week program. And I think that's about it. I just wanted to clear up those things. Once again, our goal is to be a good neighbor. We wouldn't want that traffic to get any worse than it is either, but I don't believe this project presents any sort of high-intensity weekday issues for the traffic. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, board discussion, questions?
I
on
have
motion?
I have a question for the applicant, actually. As far as the use, I'm confused. Is it a homeschool type of education that you offer? And if so, why are you having face-to-face meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Well, it's homeschool direction with supplemental classes in certain core subjects like science and social studies and Bible. So parents who are homeschooling their kids can bring their kids in for sort of supplemental instruction in those particular subjects. But we don't take attendance. We don't provide grades. All we do is help parents homeschool their children with a few additional courses.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment to the neighbors, and I understand that unless you understand ministry, this will be a difficult understanding. Rest assured that if the church is growing, the ministry is growing, people will come to the church with or without this building. They'll just sit outside over a tent if that's what is necessary. So I think I would love to move into a motion, because I believe that this is for a special exemption, not to really approve the project, right? So our county will take care of all the concerns in the building, and so I'd love to move to the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend the Board of County Commissioners to approve the special exemption and associated to the development order as per our following motion. Based on the staff's finding and the testimony and the evidence received at the hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the request meets and identifies the portions of the Land Development Code and recommends the Board of County Commissioners to approve the special exemption and associated development order to allow, with conditions, the use of the Community Civic Assembly Church in the A1 Agriculture Zoning District on approximately 2.44 acres located in the northwest corner of E.E. Williamson Road and Myrtle Lake Hills Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Then the motion carries. And we will move to item number 4 on our agenda, Rosenwald Community Center rezone. Annie Soloway presenting.
I'm just going to wait just a minute.
I'm making up for all the months I haven't been here.
Just speak loudly and confidently and go ahead.
Okay, well, let's go ahead then. All right. Good evening, Annie Silloway, Principal Planner with Development Services. This request that is being proposed tonight is for a rezone from R1 Single Family Dwelling and R2 1 and 2 Family Dwelling to PLI Public Lands and Institutions. The rezone is to allow for the development of a public park and a community center. The subject property has a public, quasi-public future land use designation, which permits a maximum floor area of 0.65. This designation is intended to identify locations suitable for a range of public and quasi-public uses, including but not limited to public, private, recreational facilities, educational institutions, and libraries. The subject site, being approximately a little over 12 acres, was previously occupied by the historic Rosenwald School in the East Altamont community. Seminole County acquired the property in 2019 for the purpose of redeveloping the site into a functional community asset offering a public park with pavilions, a fishing pier, and a 6,000 square foot community center for cultural events, community services, and youth activities. The current residential zoning classification does not support the proposed use, necessitating the rezone. The PLI zoning is intended to include major public lands and quasi-public institutional uses. This classification may only be applied to lands that are owned and controlled by the public. Staff finds the requested PLI zoning classification to be consistent with the Seminole County Land Development Code and the existing future land use of public quasi-public, and permits the proposed use of a public park and community center, which will provide a direct benefit to the community by offering accessible services and programs. So staff requests the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the Board of County Commissioners adoption of the ordinance enacting a rezone from R1 single-family dwelling and R2 1 and 2 family dwelling to PLI public lands and institutions as per the following motion. I did want to state before I go into the motion that staff did receive an email in favor of the rezone, which has been provided to you guys by email and in person. So the motion follows as based on staff's findings and the testimony and evidence received at the hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission finds the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and it meets the applicable portions of the Land Development Code and recommends the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from R1 single-family dwelling and R2 1 and 2 family dwelling to PLI public lands and institutions. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there questions of staff? Nope. Okay. Is the applicant present? Who's serving as the applicant?
County.
Okay. Well, I didn't know someone from Parks was here that wanted to talk.
I love it.
Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? I don't have any cards. Yes? Okay, come on up, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Wilson. I reside at 115 Plymouth Avenue, Altamont Springs. There was some more members. The wife, Christine, wasn't feeling good, so her husband, Mr. Wagon, had to take her home. So they asked me to turn in their comment sheets to the board here tonight. The rezoning of Rosenwald, what's the purpose? I mean, what's the purpose of rezoning this school? Can y'all tell us, please?
Sir, why don't you go ahead and finish your comments, and then we'll have staff answer your question.
Well, that was one of my main concerns, and I want to thank the county for coming this far with building a need in the community, which is a community center, which is great, and it's going to serve the community very well and whatnot. So my other question is, if y'all can let me know later on about the rezoning. Once the building is built, yes, it is. We know that it's going to serve multi-purpose. Have y'all come up with a cost yet for, just say, if I like to rent the main ballroom for maybe 3 hours? What are the prices will be ranged at? Do y'all have a price in mind?
That'd be another step.
So, sir, Parks and Recreation will be able to provide that information to you, and we can give you their number.
Personal Parks and Recreation?
Yes. They set the rates for, rental rates for park facilities, so they'll be
Okay.
able to provide that for you.
All right, well, before I leave tonight, can I get that information?
Sure. Yeah, one of our
You will?
planners will give it to you.
All right, thank you very much. And so we do see that there's some development that is going on the property now and everything. and then the boat ramp. But you said that all of that would be, I would have to go through the county to find out about the boat ramp and the uses of the lake and the facilities and all?
Yeah, this will be, so if you don't mind, Chair, so this rezoning is required because currently, all that's allowed on the property per the zoning is single-family units and dwelling units. The county doesn't want to do that, as you know, we're going to put in a community center there, so we have to rezone the property to allow the changes to occur on the site. So that's why the county is coming to do this, is to make everything legal. So once that happens and the project's developed, then Parks will set up how it's going to be utilized, the cost for utilization and those types of things. So if you have a question on the plan, Joy will give you the contact in Parks and you can talk to them. This plan is specific as you need answers to. We don't have
So
those
it would
here.
stay, but it would stay zoned as commercial, not,
It'll be public lands, so the county will always own it, so it's a public land.
Okay, it'll be a public land. So it'll still be used as residential.
No, it'll only be used as a park.
It's only be used as
And
a
a community
park.
center. Mhm.
Okay, not commercial.
Nope.
Okay. And, well, I got another question. Always, the property owner, will their taxes be raised?
No, it's just the county owns it, so we don't pay taxes to ourselves.
All right.
Right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you,
I'll turn
sir.
mine in, too.
Is there any other member of the audience that'd like to speak? Come on up.
Irvin Simpson at 2091 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard. I'm one of the community leaders, the president of East Altamont Community Association, and I'll get with Mr. Wilson to answer some of his questions. But this is a great, I'm for the project. I was retired from the military after 23 years, and when I moved back here in 2011, my mom and all her friends and everybody in the community been waiting to see something happen on this property. Now that we see dump trucks and tractors, we see a sidewalk, and we see these new pictures, we're ecstatic about the development of this. So some of the concerns that Mr. Wilson may have, I'll be able to answer some of them with him. And there was some confusion. They thought that when the mail-out came out, that there was going to be apartments built on, and the county was trying to do something slick. So I'm glad to hear that that's not the road we're going down, and that it's rezoning, because the confusion is that it was a school there, so how can it be residential? So that y'all already cleared up some of these questions and concerns. We're just ready to continue to see this project develop and come to life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, and with that, we'll close public comment. Would the applicant like to say anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Are there questions from the board, discussion, or a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Second?
I'd like to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from R1 single-family dwelling and R2 1 and 2 family dwelling to PLI public lands and institutions on approximately 12.96 acres located on the north side of Merritt Street, approximately 0.25 miles east of Ronald Reagan Boulevard.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Motion carries. Right. Jack Marie, do you have anything for the board tonight?
No, nothing to report. I don't know if it's on or not. We're going to be, once the legislation, now that the legislation closed, I'm pretty sure that NASA will bring some updates that are relevant to the board. And that's the only, and then we're going to be working on some of the additional updates to the comprehensive plan due to those new legislations that have been completed during this session.
Okay. Lisa, did you have some updates?
I don't have a comprehensive update at this time. There were some legislation passed and some that didn't pass, and some we're still waiting on to see if the governor signs it or not. So by the next meeting, I should have something to at least give you a synopsis of the bills that were passed that concern us. And then if there's any code changes or anything that we need to make, then I'll let you know. We'll start working on those. I will say there's going to be some changes, some things that we have to do for compatibility and how how we are required to look at compatibility for residential next to residential. It will be something that the board actually has to look at when, like, the first project that came to you tonight. Yes, the Sandy Lane project, because House Bill 399 requires the county to do certain things with regard to compatibility just between residential and residential uses, not between any other land use or zoning category. And that bill actually went into effect as soon as the governor signed it. So it's in effect now. It just happened last week. I haven't been able to do a full analysis with that. And since you're a recommending board, I didn't feel it was necessary to explain, because I really don't have my head wrapped around it yet, but that will be something that will come to the board. And then, once I get a good idea of what we're going to need to do and how to direct you as it pertains to that I will be talking about that in May when we come back, because that'll be something that we will have to address immediately.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have anything else to discuss?
If I may, Madam Chairman, just in regards to the Land Development Code update, if you please feel free to reach out to me or Maya as you review the document if you have any questions or concern, and also to clarify what would be the expectation of the board at the next meeting in regards to staff's presentation. Would you like to see the presentation once again that was presented today, or would you like us to just do like a quick summary and enter into discussion and answering any questions?
I think a quick summary, and then allow us to present any questions that we've developed over the month.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also available for questions, too, on the Land Development Code amendments. If there's anything that you think would be in my wheelhouse, you can feel free to give me a call. We can talk about it. Just, we want to be prepared at the meeting. We want to be able to give you the answers that you need. So if you give us a little heads up beforehand, then we can be prepared.
No need to reprint the whole thing again.
No.
Unless there's going to be changes.
Save our taxpayer dollars.
Sorry. We'll send you a link.
Meeting adjourned.
We're back in the queue.
Thank you.